Hello everyone, welcome to the stream, nice to see you all here. Today we are here to discuss some news that came out in the last few days, maybe weeks. We can maybe catch a few things up that we haven't discussed here yet, and yeah, welcome everybody. I hope the sound is good, you can hear me loud and clearly, there are no weird signals of noise in the background or anything. Maybe let me just listen to myself for a short moment and see what is going on. Of course, I'm late as always, and yeah, it seems like on my side sound seems to be okay. Hope everything works. Like the 5-hour streams here. I hope to not stream 5 hours. Maybe we stream 2.5 or maybe 3 or something, and then in the end it's 4. I don't know. But I plan to be this on the shorter side of things, but who knows? Also, welcome everyone. TPhLore, Nolorine, of course, also Crafty Spirit, Mark of the Dragon, welcome. For me and Chris, it's starting at 8 PM though. Yeah, it's relatively early, so I hope you had a fantastic day, and I welcome everyone here. Also, yeah, a little hint next video I try to complete it tomorrow. I could not finish it today, so I decided to stream today, release the video tomorrow, and hope you enjoy that. It's the next part of the Who is Elrond. We talk about the end of the Angmar War, so that might be interesting for a lot of people. And of course, that will be, if it's not out tomorrow, it's out on Friday, but something among those lines. But yeah, I really try to finish it tomorrow. Hope it will be there. It's 2:22 p.m. in Puerto Rico. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. A wizard is never late. That is true. Question is if I'm a wizard or not, but who knows? 2 hours of streaming is about 5 hours for me. Yeah, that is good. It's kind of true. It's sad, but true at the same time. So chat, shall we discuss first? Like, I have to admit, probably the longest section will be the orc pictures. Maybe not, I'm not sure, because I could imagine that there are some difficult questions related to that coming up. There is another thing I just remembered. There was also this little trailer thing from what is it called? The Earth Needs More Elf Fans or something, published by Amazon, like a little promotion trailer, and we see some interesting details in that. We could discuss this as well as part of like having a more news-related stream today in comparison to the lore Q&A stream, though you can of course ask always questions, and we can also always look into the good stuff, which is of course, wow, that just suddenly a sound went off in the background that kind of scared me for a moment. But you didn't hear it because I have the desktop audio muted, so that's good. Where was I just stopping by? Yeah, it's something about news. I don't know. But let's cover some of those news. Also, Canadian Fantasy Corners here. Welcome. Nice to see you. So, a lot of familiar faces. It was a bit also surprising stream as always. I'm a bit struggling a bit with announcing them early. I tried to announce it like 90 minutes before we start, but then I started typing everything into YouTube and set on clicked on schedule stream, and then it said error, and I have to basically put everything again. Oh boy. I have to type in everything again. It was a lot of fun. Thanks, YouTube. Oh no, I did a mistake. Hide user on this channel. Okay, that should be working. The attack of the bots, it's always fascinating to see. Very unfortunate though. Like, it's very fascinating. Every time I go live, like at the start of the stream, very reliably some bots just appear and post weird stuff here. That's really unfortunate. I'm having a pretty good day. Pretty nice to hear. Okay, so where shall we start? Chat hasn't said anything about that yet, so I'm not sure. I assume most people don't care as long as we talk about Tolkien, so that we can of course do. So thanks for asking. That doesn't sound too good, Canadian Fantasy Corner. Oh, just okay. So what can we do? I would say the newest one is the book. Maybe we discuss this later and start with the orcs, or I'm very indecisive when it comes to stuff like this. Not sure what chat wants to discuss first. Let's start with where I think the book will start and what tales to expect in it will contain. Okay, so we can we watch the trailer so we all know what to talk about? Well, the trailer. You mean the Amazon teaser, or? I mean, it would be really funny if just now the trailer dropped and out of nowhere I didn't know about this, but no, it doesn't look like it. So yeah, there were some screenshots for the Orcs we can post. I can post the book thing in chat. So let's maybe go into this direction first. Let me just set this up properly. I also have like this nice image in large image, but yeah, there's an article on the Tolkien Society site. I just posted here in chat. Orcs first. Now it's too late. Now we start with the book because Canadian Fantasy Corner was faster. I guess we can go through this relatively fast. So let me just see how to do this. Maybe I press this button. Should work. So we have like a nice full screen. Where's this thing here? Okay, maybe I should... I'm actually not sure how to do this. Capture. Okay, that should work. Yeah, so it was announced today that Brian Sibley, I hope I pronounced his name right, will bring out a book at the 10th of November 2022, so later this year, and it is called The Fall of Númenor. If you probably know the Orcs first, now I'm in the middle of this, so I can't go back now. We have went this way. Yeah, it's in November it will come out, and it has illustrations by Alan Lee, even some that aren't so far not published yet, or we don't know yet, which he probably made for this book. And it is basically, if you know the great tales of Tolkien, which were also brought up by Christopher Tolkien, which are the Children of Húrin, Beren and Lúthien, and of course the last one, The Fall of Gondolin. Now we have The Fall of Númenor. I assume it's probably not officially, maybe it is, part of these great tales. I'm not sure about this yet. We will have to find out. But the idea is basically that this book takes one particular big event in Tolkien's lore, which is, of course, one of them is The Fall of Númenor. And if I understood it correctly, Brian Sibley tries to put it into basically one narrative, if that makes sense. Not only that, from the if you read the text on the Tolkien Society homepage, I can post it here again, that also sounds a bit like that they will do something like include the complete Second Age, I assume. And if you have seen my my Who is Elrond and the Second Age video, you'll probably know that that is a very, very complex task to do. So my worry is a bit that if, like, it sounds a bit like they look at the Appendix B, the Tale of Years, and go through it and maybe add the texts from Unfinished Tales and other sources to it to maybe give us this, and the Silmarillion, to give us a complete picture of the Second Age, probably focusing on the Fall of Númenor, and which is a pretty big aspect, I think, of the Second Age. Like, it's one of the really big events, and Númenor is really present in a lot of other events, because there were some quotes of the author, which you can also read on Twitter. Maybe I can find them really quick. I think I also retweeted the post, so there's that. Let me just see if I can retweet like that. I think it was here somewhere. Maybe it was on the page of things. This is the tweet from the Tolkien Society, and in it you find like some hints that it's not only, like Brian Sibley says, it's not only about the creation of the Rings of Power, but also about Númenor. Something among those lines, he said. And as a result, I would assume that he includes a bit more than just the Fall of Númenor, even though the book is titled like that. But we all know that the Númenorians had their hands in a lot of big events in the Second Age, so I would assume there is a lot of it. Somebody already asked what might be part of the book, so I definitely think the focus, when the title is The Fall of Númenor, will be the very late part of the Second Age, which is The Fall of Númenor, when it actually ends for Númenor. Probably how it also gets there. I could imagine that Aldarion and Erendis is mentioned in it. I could imagine that we also maybe find some other details. For example, they could include some of the Peoples of Middle-earth stuff into it, which also expands a bit on a few details. For example, the arrival of the Blue Wizards or so could be at least hinted there in the chronology if it goes through it, even though they're probably not that important for the tale. But for example, Glorfindel would be important, so there's that. And yeah, stuff like this, then maybe also what happens, the aftermath of the Fall of Númenor, the foundation of the kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor in Middle-earth, and of course the War of the Last Alliance as a final big event of the Second Age. I assume it will be in there. However, I have a little bit of skepticism if they say they want to create like a single narrative out of the texts, and for the Second Age. The problem with all the texts is, like, you have probably seen my video about Elrond and the Second Age. The problem with this is a bit that there are so many contradicting versions of parts of the Second Age that in some places it's really, really tough to create like a narrative that makes, like, you can create a narrative that makes sense, but it's kind of difficult. But what narrative will it be? Like, there is a version where, I don't know, for example, Galadriel, like the movement of Galadriel alone, when she goes to Eregion, is she now part of the founders of Eregion, or is she just a bypasser? Or is Celebrimbor actually one of the bypassers when it comes to Eregion, and Galadriel and Celeborn founded? Like, details like these are really hard to pin down because there are so many contradicting versions. We have to, for example, also consider what happens in Lothlorien. Like, what is with is there Amdir or is there Amros? Is Amros the son of Galadriel or not? There are just so many details that is really difficult. Also, yeah, welcome Rosie Gumchi. Nice to see you here too. Yeah, take care. Hope you can a bit relax here while we discuss some of the Tolkien lore. We'll also look into chat in a moment again and check what's going on there. Let me just finish my monologue for a moment so I don't lose track of what I was just saying. And yeah, there's some other details. Early Second Age is also hard to pin down, but of course we have like events of the Númenorians finally developing the necessary technology to sail back to Middle-earth and starting making settlements and so on. Details like these could be pretty much well covered in this, and some of it also, for the most part works pretty well, but some details, for example, mostly Galadriel, I would say, are really, really difficult to reconstruct in a coherent narrative, if that makes sense, because there are just so many different contradicting versions to it. So I'm very curious how he will solve this, I call it, too many versions of the same event problem. Will be interesting to see, but yeah, it's interesting. Also, I think Canadian Fantasy calls that it's quite expensive. It's like $40 or 38 euros, I think, in Germany. So yeah, it's relatively expensive. According to Amazon, it has 320 pages. So it is, I don't know, depends on the size of the book, but I would assume it's similar in size to the Grey Tale books, maybe a bit more, hard to say. And that's quite interesting. Also, it is an interesting timing that the show will in theory end at the end of October, maybe at the beginning of November, depending if there's like a break or whatever, like a week where no new episodes comes, or how they handle longer episodes. I don't know. In theory, it's 8 weeks, so it should end at the end of October, maybe at the end, the beginning of November. And this also basically comes out after the show, the first season aired. And it's also mentioned in the article that this timing was selected carefully, let's put it that way, fit this. And of course it covers the Second Age, which is quite convenient for a show that plays in the Second Age. The question is, I assume that Brian Sibley will not take care too much of what the show has to tell, but more about what's actually in Tolkien's books and the versions, and compose something out of it. Because we have to keep in mind that for the most part the History of Middle-earth books are the History of Middle-earth books and the Unfinished Tales, and the Silmarillion, which are the biggest sources for the Second Age. The Amazon show has no access to. They only have access to Appendix A, B, and the other appendices, so basically Lord of the Rings, and that limits them, in my opinion, a little bit, if I'm honest. So, curious how this in relation to this will be. But we will find out later this year, I would say. So, are there any other thoughts on this book so far? So I think, it's pretty nice to have like a dedicated book to the Second Age where you find all the information in it. Probably like a narrative that you can follow. It's maybe good for people that are new, because if you do research on this, you have like so many, I don't know, different texts to read and to compile out of them something that even is remotely close to a narrative. And sometimes you even have to check different books to form all the pieces together. That makes it quite difficult at times, and it often eats a lot of time finding these little half sentences and snippets from one book or another. So it's definitely out. We're definitely going to review this book when it comes out. Yeah, probably maybe do the same, though I hope, I don't know, I also said this a bit about, maybe we just do a live stream and I tell you what I think about it or so. We will find out when it comes out. Do you think they will mention the Kingdom of Lorien? Maybe. Like, as said, if it really covers the complete Second Age, what happens in Lorien might be really interesting, but if they would be smart, they would just somehow only mention it as a side note, because it's really, really hard to reconstruct what's happening there. We also have the woodland realm with Thranduil, and in some version he has a father called Orofer. We have even this cool artwork of him. Oh, that is pretty neat. I also did something on my OBS thing in the background to help me do this here. Would not say better, but somewhat. This is the right one, yeah. So he has a father called Orofer. That's how he looks. Shoutouts to Kimberly80 for the artwork she did on him. But he's only in one version, I think. Yeah, he's only one version. And it's a very interesting version. I like this version, to be honest, but he's not mentioned in, for example, Lord of the Rings, and in other versions he's also not mentioned. So how canon this character is hard to say, but Tolkien thought maybe it would be a good addition to the books, though the appendices don't indicate that he existed, and that it's more Thranduil who is a king in this region. And the same, of course, there's another character called Amdir for Lorien, and in some versions he's called, I think, Malgalad or something like this. And he's then the father of Amros, and it's complicated. In some version it doesn't exist, and Amros is the son of Galadriel. Oh, it's really complicated. To be honest, it sounds overpriced given that it will mostly contain published material. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's relatively expensive, considering that it depends on how big this book is. Maybe the 320 page is just a placeholder, not a final number. Could be more. I heard that some pages also say it has 400 pages or so, but I would assume it's around 300 to 400 pages. You have to think about. I'm not sure what's the price of the Grey Tales. Does anybody know? Maybe we could just look it up really quick. I hope you still see something. Great Tales. There's the Great Tales of Middle-earth. That should be this here. Hey, there you get like all three books. It's like 63 euros currently. Not sure how expensive it's on. I could check as well, right? Not sure how much it is in the United States. That's not, at least on Amazon, it's not there, which is for me currently the fastest way to check the price. Used to get it for $34, so I don't know. Yeah, it seems relatively pricey though in comparison to some other stuff that you get. Though it has a few illustrations in it, stuff like this also makes like a bit more expensive. We have to find out. I would agree though, it sounds a bit pricey, to be honest. Like, you can get the whole Lord of the Rings for like, I don't know, $40, $50 or so. So it's okay. $40.49 on Prime. Interesting. So yeah, that is basically the news about this part here. I'm not sure if somebody, FantasyCon said you already pre-ordered it. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, just probably wait or think if I really need it. The problem is, I know the book so well and I have all the other books, and this does not contain new material, though I would maybe only order it if I would make a review or so on it, I guess. I guess I will order it anyway, but yeah, not sure. Maybe it's an interesting I don't know, Christmas gift or something, yeah. Probably something like this. Have to add it to the bookshelf, yeah. Of course, for people who like to collect Tolkien books, it might be interesting to get new stuff. Like I said, I'm really curious how it turns out. Hello everyone, Mark Cheetah is there. Only ever read Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and the Silmarillion. Never saw the need to read more. I can definitely recommend The Unfinished Tales, which is, in my opinion, also an absolute fantastic book. One of my favorite books outside of the main books, including the Silmarillion, which is also fantastic. But for me, that's really a fantastic book if you really want to learn more about some details. But I guess you are right that these, like The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, are probably enough. Do you want to see little goblin imps in the show? I'm not sure if I want. You mean like I'm not sure if I have the screenshot here available in case people wonder what you're talking about. Like in the first Hobbit film, there's this little imp. Maybe you mean that one, but I'm not sure if I have if I have an image prepared for that. Nope. It doesn't look. I could swear I made a screenshot of the Goblin King at some point. Maybe he's on it as well. Oh, nice. Andres is here. Welcome. Nice to see you. What could I... Here, just search for this. Oh, there he is. No, that's wrong. I'm not sure if I have a screenshot. It doesn't help that I can't see on the screenshot what is going on exactly. Too difficult to find right now. Nope, that doesn't work either. Maybe I don't have a screenshot of the little goblin imp. No, I don't have the screenshot. I only have one of Goblin Town and the big goblin, but the Great Goblin or the Goblin King had like a little imp here in the film. Not sure if we need more of that. It depends, I guess, on the tone. Like the Hobbit films and the Hobbit book is more like a fairy tale in the widest sense, and for that little cute elements, I wouldn't. Is he cute? Well, it's difficult to say if cute is the right word, but you know what I mean. Maybe that's more fitting in this. I'm not sure if it will fit the other show though. I like the goblins in Tolkien's own drawings. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. So if you wrote something and I have a question, feel free to post it twice or so. If I have missed your stuff that you're saying, sometimes it's really hard to keep track of the chat. That's true. Maybe it's, John's Pickle says, I would love a review of the book and reviews of the other lesser-known books. It would help fans to figure out which ones to buy. Yeah, probably it's a good thing. I think I made like I think it's in the made a video that's called what did I call it? Tolkien Beginner Guide or something like this. Yeah, beginner guide for the Lord of the Rings or something like this. Let me just see. I can post it in chat in case people are interested in that. I think I could go maybe a bit more detailed through the books and tell what the strengths are. Also, Nature of Middle-earth wasn't out when I made the video, so that's missing. Maybe I could make a little update or so. Yeah, probably a good suggestion. I would agree on that. Yeah, that's true. Maybe because it's a niche market. Though I think Nature of Middle-earth. What was the price of Nature of Middle-earth? To come back to this price discussion. Nature of Middle-earth, fantastic book. Let me just see, what does it cost? Okay, it's like $20 or it's $19 currently on Amazon, for example. So I remember it was relatively cheap for like new material. I think it had no illustrations though, except for the cover. So yeah, that's of course like a difference. And if you have illustrations in a book, it automatically gets more pricey. But I think it was a really fair price for the amount of new stuff you found in it. It's basically only new stuff. So let me see. Somebody pinged me there. How they squeak. Who's the new orc picture? Yeah, we talk about the orc pictures in a moment. Not me reading the Silmarillion before the Hobbit. Well, that can happen too. Do you think they will include the dancing bears from Nature of Middle-earth? That would be pretty cool if they would do this. Like in the Amazon show and in the background of... I don't have a picture for this. But yeah, there is... for people who don't know this, there is... how to explain this? There is basically... in a passage in Nature of Middle-earth, and there on the island Númenor, maybe... Didn't I just update this here to make it... Yeah, I did. So the island Númenor in the Second Age, it's this island here in the middle of the ocean. And it turns out on this island there are bears, and they are dancing. and you can't laugh at them. If you do, they get angry. So people have to watch. When people watch them dance, they can't laugh. It's a really funny and absolutely peculiar story in this little text passage published in Nature of Middle-earth, but it's also very remarkable and remember it quite well. So yeah, there's always the dancing bears. It would be I would assume if they would add them to the Rings of Power show, I don't expect this to be a main thing. Maybe something in the background or so would be pretty funny to see. But yeah, I don't know. They don't have the rights for Nature of Middle-earth texts, so they probably can't easily do this. But like a little Easter egg in the background or so, that would be quite funny, I have to admit. Silmarillion was my favorite book. Yeah, I can definitely see this. It's a mind-blowing book. Lord of the Rings also fantastic. But yeah, if you read it's really a mind-blowing book if you know Lord of the Rings, and then for the first time read the Silmarillion, you start to understand all the details and references in the Lord of the Rings just much, much better. That's really an eye-opening moment. So yeah, it's a fantastic book. I agree. I love mythology, so I like Silmarillion. Yeah, it's definitely a mythology book in a way. That's true. At least the beginning of it, or especially the beginning of it. Do you think they will include the bears in the new book? I could imagine that they will, because for the book, as far as I understood it from the website, let me just see. No, that's wrong. What is this video? Let me just think for a moment, chat. Always difficult to do thinking and stuff at the same time. Let me just post the link here in chat. In the article, I think they mentioned that he basically composes or has access to all the writings of Tolkien that are published by now and exist. So as a result, yeah, I could imagine that they are mentioned. Based, I guess as kids would say. It's kind of funny. But yeah, definitely possible. It wouldn't be complete without it. That's kind of a good answer. Okay, so are there any things left we need to talk about? Let me just press this button here. Yeah, this is pretty much my thoughts on the Fall of Númenor. There's not much because it's just a small announcement. I can, as said, I posted the Tolkien Society article on it here in chat, and if people are interested in this, yeah, feel free to check it out further. It definitely is an interesting little book that might come out soon. As said, maybe a bit pricey. Curious how he will deal with all the different versions that exist for some of the text of the Second Age. It might also include more than just the Fall of Númenor and cover the complete Second Age. So yeah, might be very interesting to see what it will include exactly. But yeah, I would definitely expect to be there quite a bit of the Second Age in this. And yeah, especially in context of when the show has the first season has put it into context of this would be quite interesting, I think. We might do this when yeah, at the end of the year, so we will find out, I guess. It's TPhLore is right. It's not new. It's just a compilation. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, there's no new material. I think the Nature of Middle-earth might be the last big book we will get with new stuff from Tolkien. In an interview, I'm not sure if it was with Nerd of the Rings or with Voice of Geekdom then. Shoutouts to them both. And they did an interview with the author of the Nature of Middle-earth, Carl Hostetter, and he said basically there's not enough material left to... there is some material still left that is unpublished, but it's probably not enough to make a new book of this size. So most likely Nature of Middle-earth will be pretty much the last big book that we have, or that we will get. And the other books that might come out are just compilations of that. So yeah. Greetings to all. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Dave. Nice to see you here in stream as well. Okay, so shall we move on to the next topic? So, topics left. Somebody already mentioned this. Maybe we could do this before we go to the orc pictures, I guess. I'm happy enough that we got a last book in Nature of Middle-earth. Yeah, agreed. Oh. Can't believe. I really have to put this stuff in the auto spam thing. Let me just see. Is Mr. Bot working? Okay, so yeah, bot is working. Maybe I can put this message on my spam filter so it automatically deleted. That would be awesome. Spam protection. Always fun doing this live in stream. Okay, maybe it works this time. Okay, so yeah, people mentioned in chat already the let me just think. So how can I get a good transition? Maybe we do it differently. Let me just set up something really fast. So somebody mentioned Ents already, and let me just see. Oh, just wondered. Not sure if that's the best image I have. Yeah, but we have come a long way. Also, this is not Lord of the Rings Fellowship. I assume it's Two Towers, or is it? It might be. I'm not sure. So we have the end. So there was also a recent trailer. Maybe we could just I just put it in as a little extra bonus here. I don't want to watch this little. It's not a trailer. It's just a little promotional video for what's coming up on Amazon Prime, I guess. However, it has two interesting little details, maybe more. Let me just see how can I do this really quick. Probably like this. So yeah, we have this little trailer, and there it's basically like about like a boy is in school or something, and he finds this Lord of the Rings book here on the ground. And yeah, it's one of the new covers, so it's highly unrealistic because nobody would buy the books with the new covers, to be honest, from the Amazon show, which I personally find a really strange choice. I guess it makes kind of sense to bring out a Lord of the Rings book with one of these covers, but I have to admit I'm not the hugest fan of those, to be honest. Like, there's so beautiful and awesome Lord of the Rings versions out there. This is definitely not on my priority, though. Not on my wish list. Let's put it that way. However, yeah, he finds his books and starts reading, and then here we have our first little thing. So he has this. He reads in bed with his flashlight, and if we look, I'm not sure. Is it already over? Probably it is. But if you look at one scene, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, if you this artwork here, I'm not sure who made this artwork, but this is, I think, Glaurung, and this is the dwarf. I think Nerd of the Ring spotted this. This is the dwarf Adachal or Adakal. Really hard to say how he's pronounced, because the G and the H in dwarvish names, and I think in Khuzul names, is pronounced as a voiced velar fricative. So his name pronunciation should be something like Adachal. It's really hard to say for me, so. And yeah, this is Glaurung, and this is then like a first age thing going on. Let me just check something really quick. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he dies in the Nirnai, or he is, I think, slain in the Nirnais Arnödiat. Also a weird name, to be honest, in Elvish. If you read it the first time, you never come up with this pronunciation. But yeah, he basically fights Glaurung, and his scales weren't yet strong enough, and as a result, they could pretty much damage him a bit. But Adachal is also slain, and he could just, I don't know, he drove his knife through Glaurung's belly to wound him there. Which is maybe a bit of foreshadowing of how Glaurung will be slain at the end, I guess. And then the dwarves took his corpse and basically returned to where he's from. He was a lord of Belegost. Maybe we can look at the fantastic maps that we have. So here we have like a first age map. Let me see where we are. Something like here. So Belegost would be somewhere here in the mountains in the first age. So in case people wonder, it's always a bit difficult to explain first age stuff like this, because first age is always complicated. But yeah, if we move the map a bit further to the north, we see basically Eriador. And yeah, this actually, let me just think about it for a moment. Yeah, this here would be where Bree later will be. This is the lake behind it. This is Nenuial and so on. And then there's like this mountain range, which are the Blue Mountains. In the first age, they're still intact. And there's land west of the Blue Mountains. And yeah, in these Blue Mountains, there are two dwarven kingdoms, Belegost and Norgrod. And as a result, Adachal is a lord of Belegost. And yeah, they fight in the Nirnais Arnödiat and get utterly defeated. So that's basically this. Why this is important, I don't know, but I found this a very interesting detail. Sadly, I did not know research on this because it's relatively spontaneous. I'm not sure who made this artwork. Does somebody in chat know who made this artwork? Is this maybe the Jenny Dolphin one, actually? Would be kind of fascinating if it is, to be honest. Like, does somebody know who might have done this artwork? Let me just... Maybe I can find it here on the page. No. Maybe on the Glaurung page. Would be... Also, welcome Amanda, nice to see you here. No, it's not... Who made this artwork? Maybe it's one of Tolkien's sketches? I'm not sure who made it. Could be also the workshop. Yeah, that is true. But I feel like I have seen it somewhere before. But to be honest, I can't put my... I can't tell you where. Just scroll through some artworks here. Yeah, no, that Tolkien's artwork looked completely different. And it's also not Ted Naismith. That also looks different. I don't know. I could swear... That's John Howe's art. Yeah, maybe it's John Howe. That's maybe why it's not on Tolkien Gateway in the gallery. That's definitely possible. So yeah. He also worked on the films. It's from a book of illustration by John Howe. Thank you for the information. Much appreciated. So, yeah, I've seen it somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where it is exactly. So, yeah, that's an interesting detail already in this little trailer. So, like, the Near Nice Anödiad is a First Age big event, very famous in the Silmarillion. Well, famous, probably the wrong word for it because it's a terrible event, but, yeah, I don't know. And then, yeah, the boy sits in school, looks out of the window, and sees the tree moving. And it's an actual Ent. Also fantastic acting by such a young little actor here, in my opinion. He really sells this shot, to be honest. And yeah, so the idea, so the Adachal might be just a thing that is there as a little detail. Might have nothing to do with the show. However, some speculate that when they have created like a fully fleshed out Ent, and in CGI or whatever, or maybe partially CGI and partially practical effects, really hard to say. If they have done this, maybe he is from the show, and that's why he's in this little trailer teasing that Ents will appear in the show. And I think you heard this already if you have seen Nerd of the Ring stream. I think it was also briefly in that one, I guess. Forgot. There is, of course, also one of the Amazon screenshots. Let me just see which one I might use here. Of course, the source might not be right, but that doesn't need to bother. There was the posters revealed, if you remember. The posters, I remember. And on one of the posters, we see, this one here. Let me just switch the scenes. On one of the posters, we see Arondir in his wooden armor, and there's a face carved in. Some speculated this might be an Ent. I speculate maybe it's Tom Bombadil or something, but yeah, an Ent was also pretty plausible. So some assume that the Ent and this might depict an Ent, and he looks somewhat similar. So there is this parallel going on, quite interesting in my opinion. But yeah, I think that was it mainly for the details. Here he looks at trailer. Yeah, we have some orcs. I think Lord of the Rings of Power. I think there was also the rumor that it will air at the it will also air in some cinemas and theaters. I'm not sure if it's in Germany as well, but it would be pretty interesting if that would be the case. I think that's for the big announcement of the Ents here. Bad bot also. Let me just see. Yeah, I was fast enough. But might be too slow. Pretty annoying though. Yeah, and the Passion Rob also said it looks like the image in the chest armor of Arondir. Exactly. Probably there's another better screenshot which I could try to find here in the background really fast. Where was that? I think it was one of the first screenshots that got revealed. There we see him like with a torch. Yeah, I think it was this one here from the Vanity Fair screenshot that got revealed. Here you see the armor, and yeah, probably some similarity there. I remember reading Lord of the Rings under a blanket because I kept reading past bedtime. Yeah, the classic. Poor kid has a new edition of the book. Yeah, agreed. It's definitely strange that they used exactly this edition. But I guess it's perfectly fine and readable, so I don't want to make fun too much of this edition, but yeah, it's not one of my favorites. That was already, I know, 16 or something when I read it the first time, so I was a bit older. let me just check what's going on in chat. I really hope there will be Ents and the Amazon. I assume there will be, because why shouldn't there? Even though well, in the first age we have a mention of Ents when it comes to these two people here. Maybe. Nope. Let me just. How do I edit this? So for people not knowing, I could add the names. Of course, I misspell here. I hope I typed this right. Yeah, we have, for example, Beren and Luthien in the first age, and later, when they basically retire, something happens during the first age, which is related to the dwarves, and Beren then fights against the dwarves, and in, I think, the version in the Silmarillion of this, he also some Ents help him there in Beleriand. As said, that is, like, they were on their way back, so it was probably around here. That is, there's a river Asgar, and there's like a ford there, and the river Gelion, I think the name was. Might have been there, and then the treasures fall into the, or are basically emptied into the river or something like this. And then the name changes of the river because there's no gold in the river, something like this. I distantly remember in my head. And only the Silmaril, one of the Silmaril, is retrieved. The Nauglamir, to be precise. So basically a necklace, and the Silmaril is put into that. There's a beautiful illustration of that by Ted Naismith, which I could just try to bring up here. This one is then saved from it. So in the first age there is a mention of them. I'm not sure in the second age there's also one mention, now that I think of it. Let us switch to the second age, and that is when the War of the Last Alliance Wars, we have Elendil coming down here, the Anduin, from this direction here, from Rivendell all the way down, probably on the eastern shore of it. And Sauron, of course, didn't want that they go there, so he set basically, or he burned down some lands here, which will be then known as the Brown Lands, because the bots are really annoying today. Yeah, these are the Brown Lands. They burned them, and after they are burned, they become known as the Brown Lands because nothing grows there anymore. And some speculate that the Endwives were there in these lands before they burned down, and then they potentially died. And there's also speculation that Sauron maybe kidnapped some of the Endwives to use them in his, let me just move up the map a little bit, roundabout here down in Nurnen. This is the Sea of Nurn, and or was it Nurnen? I'm not sure. What is going on with the bots today? Give me a break, bots. Really, really annoying today. Down here to basically grow food for his armies, and that's at least a theory. That is, I assume, mentioned in one of the letters of Tolkien. I think it's in one of the letters. I think that is one of the only mentions of the Ents in the second age. There might be more, I am not sure, but of course they were definitely around in the second age. So they can appear. I would be surprised, even though it is not impossible, when they would have like a major role in the show, but who knows? Yeah, it's really trolling this live stream. It's all different accounts because I always ban the accounts of the bots, but really unfortunate. I blocked the darn thing. Yeah, it's just coming back and back all the time. Really annoying today. So yeah, that is it about the what's it called, the Ents. Nolorin says, weren't the Ents and the sentient plants created in response to the creation of the dwarves? Yes. That is true. It basically is mentioned in the Silmarillion relatively at the beginning. So after the creation of the dwarves, it was basically said by Yavanna that it's a bit unfair that Aule had his dwarves and his trees of stone, the mountains, and that there was nothing basically to defend the plants in this world, and there was no counterweight to the dwarves who would just chop down the wood and the forest to get wood to burn and so on. As a result, Yavanna basically asked if she couldn't have also something to counter this, and then Eru basically, so God, sent down spirits from afar. It's one of these phrases again, and as a result, the Ents were created as the shepherds of the forests to protect the growing things that could not defend themselves. And so that is how the Ents came to be. So the Ents are quite old, but in theory they are not older than the dwarves, I guess. Yeah, Yavanna got a freebie creation passage, exactly. That we get see some Entwives and some Endlings. Yeah, would be pretty awesome if we see. But though I would not expect them to have a major role, maybe just at the side. Would be interesting if there would be something with the Hobbits going on as a little foreshadowing for the Lord of the Rings. Who knows? Though in theory, it's really hard to say though, because in theory the Ents didn't know about the Hobbits, so it might be that they do not meet, even though in theory they could have met. And they also lived roundabout in that region, to be honest. But I don't know. Really hard to say. Like, if we look at the map, let me see what map do you see. So yeah, Fangorn, in case people wonder, that is here. And let me just... Like, the Stur Hobbits later live somewhere around here, this area. I'm not sure. I would assume that the early Hobbits, the Harfoots or whatever, could maybe lived here in Mirkwood, or as it was called, Greenwood the Great at this time. Really hard if there will be any interaction, but in theory you can see a bit more south of it, the Ents in the Second Age lived. So it is possible, but maybe not. It's at least not recorded, and I would definitely argue it would be unlikely from a book's perspective that they met. Yeah, we should not meet. We should not see the Ents meet the Harfoot. I agree, but who knows? Yeah, that's also a good point by Happy Metal Geek. I would prefer not to see the Endwife. Sometimes mystery is better than knowing. Yeah, that is true. You should not demystify everything. You should keep some mysteries. That would be pretty nice. Let me just see what else was written in chat. Build me an army of spam bots worthy of YouTube. Yeah, that's that already happened. It seems. Ents did not a great job of protecting the forests of Middle Earth during the Second Age. That is also true. Is the sound okay? Because I got a weird message from my YouTube thing here who says basically that my audio stream's bitrate is lower than it should be. I can't confirm that though. My audio bitrate is pretty fantastic in my opinion, but who knows. Really strange. I hope the audio is good. Bjornings are 3rd age. That's true, but they could have been there. Yeah, I guess the Bjornings themselves are of course 3rd age, that is true. Though the shape shifters probably existed for earlier, though there are no real recordings of them. But yeah, they could take a lot of liberties and make something up or so. That is true. Yeah, shall we move on to the actual or one of the bigger topics? Also, chat, I think I only talked about it on Twitch. We could also look later, but let's do this as maybe a final topic or so. We could later look into the Moria, Return to Moria trailer. Like, there comes a new game is coming out. I talked about this already on my Twitch stream when it was announced, I think, roundabout. But I did not do here on the YouTube thing, so probably I should also talk about this for a brief moment. We can do this in the future. Yeah, there's also the pictures of Celebrimbor, of course, and some people say, I also agree, it looks a little bit off, but there was a screenshot where you also see him in the background when they're sitting on this table. Maybe I can bring it up here in a moment. Let me just see. Where was the screenshot? It was, I think, published in the Empire magazine, right? I'm not sure if it has a different size, but should work out. Here he's also like on this table, I assume. Do I have like an arrow for this? In case people can spot it. Yeah, roundabout. I assume this here is Celebrimbor. I'm not 100% sure though, but it could be him. It's pretty small, and the build, the image isn't too clear. Like there's some compression artifacts on the image, but he looks like more fitting in my opinion. So probably it depends on the screenshot, on the scene, how he's filmed, and so on. Yeah, we have to see what is going on. I would say, shall we look into the orcs now? Because considering that I said, okay, let's look at the book, and suddenly chat wrote, no, let's look at the orcs. So yeah, we might we're a bit late now on discussing those. So there are multiple. Let me see how we can do this the easiest way. Can bring them up maybe in detail. Maybe we should look through this. I'm not sure, chat, how to deal with this. How we do it like this? Yeah, that's probably the best way. Let me just press this button here. Let me just see. So let's move to the next topic, orcs. Talk about orcs, please. Yeah, we talk about this in a moment. Let me just see if I missed something in chat. Sound is good, says my mod. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, not my choice for Elrond. Let me just see. Elrond looks like the human Shrek. Oh, we'll see how it works out. I guess at the beginning I also needed to get used to what's he called? Hugo Weaving in The Lord of the Rings, because I knew him from Matrix as Mr. Smith, and as a result I always he also seemed like he didn't fit too well at the beginning, but now I can't imagine him otherwise anymore, and I guess you get just used to how some people look. I would be surprised if it would be any different. So yeah, we have this orc here. It's kind of interesting. Let me just see if I get like I bring up a screenshot at a moment that has a much higher resolution. Just have to find it. So here it is in a high resolution. I can potentially, let's call it, zoom in a bit. We will see, and yeah, we see a lot of detail in these scenes. This is actually not the orc I wanted to start with, but what we already notice here in this image is, for example, the sword. Like, I feel like, even though these orcs look quite different compared to what we know from the Peter Jackson films, I have to admit this sword here distantly is somewhat reminiscent of the weapons the orcs were using in Peter Jackson's films. I also think, like, what we also learned, like, how is it even pronounced? I think it's pronounced pathetic, right? It seems like they use the good prosthetic stuff, which is pretty awesome in my opinion, because it just looks always more, these practical stuff always looks much better, in my opinion, than the CGI orcs, for example, from The Hobbit. Even though I don't found them too terrible, to be honest, but I definitely prefer this style. It seems like they are going again with this, and so far, if you zoom in quite a lot, it looks pretty awesome. I don't want to know how long these people need to basically be modified to look like this. It just probably is unpleasant. We know that, for example, the actor of what was his name, Lourdes, I think, it took, like, I don't know, 6, 7 or 8 hours or something ridiculous. Like, he had to get to the set in the middle of the night, and then he was styled for like 8 hours straight, and then he could shoot. It was really, it must have been really painful to do this, but in the end it was worth it, because in Lord of the Rings orcs, in my opinion, looked pretty awesome, and that's always good. Pathetic. Okay, I think I pronounced it somewhere right. They look like the vampires out of Blade. It's a kind of funny comparison. Let me just see if I can get it a bit bigger. Yeah, for sure I can get this bigger. But it's kind of interesting to see. So there's a lot of detail going on here. The hands, the arms, even if we go down, like the legs, everything is basically it changed for these. So quite impressive stuff. And they all look quite different, which is kind of interesting. So far, I have to say, I like it. They also look like they they plundered their stuff together, which also makes kind of sense for orcs. Let me just see if I have, like, another orc available. Like, this one is also an interesting scene here, because if you look at the background, let me just switch it. Here's also the source for it. I can post the link for the images in chat, because I think I prepared this, but just takes potentially a moment for this, ! Link. You can also execute this command, so if you want to check the IGN page where these images are from. This guy here in the background is very reminiscent of the trailer footage. Now I don't have the trailer footage available, but maybe we can bring it up in a short, brief moment. We just see, don't have let me just see if I find it really quick. I don't want to get into too much trouble. But there is, let me just, where's OBS? There it is. There's this scene here, and you see the forest. So the lightning is a bit different, but in my opinion, could be maybe the same forest, you know what I mean? Quite interesting. So maybe it is related to the scene, but I could be completely wrong. But That's definitely a detail we see. Also have some chainmail here going on. So yeah, pretty nice stuff that we see here. I also found, like, we also have some other shots of the. You just see, where's this stuff? I always do stuff in the background. Oh, of course, we have a new bot invasion here. Awesome. I just want orcs with plate armor. Yeah, well, like in the text we found out, it seems like they definitely are going for, how to say it, very early orcs that are not yet fully under Sauron's control, so they have far less armor and stuff available. There might be, like, there's a hint that we will see finally some female orcs. Yeah, this bot is really into Tolkien. I agree. So they are not under Sauron's control, not part of an army, more like wild tribes. And there are some indicators for this, even in the books, to be honest. For as far as in the middle of the Second Age. Let me just see if I can find the quote really quick. It's probably too long to read here. Definitely too long to read, but there's like a mention, there's a chapter in the Nature of Middle-earth called Note on the Delay of Gil-galad and the Númenóreans. And in this one, we can basically read that very early on in the Second Age, when Sauron had to stay in disguise as Anatar to basically get into contact with the elves, he could not just simply turn back to old Sauron again and do his evil stuff in the background. He had to fully commit for this quite some time, and as a result, he had trouble controlling some tribes. Let me just see if I find this. I'm not sure, because I don't know the text out of my head currently too well, how it's phrased. Else I could maybe read the passage here. That doesn't work. But yeah, it's in the Nature of Middle-earth book. It's a relatively short chapter, but it's, as I said, too long to read here. I have to skip through the text really quick. Yeah, but further east there were more and stronger kinds, descendants of Morgoth's kingship, but long masterless during his occupation of Thangorodrim. They were yet wild and ungovernable, preying upon one another and upon men, whether good or evil. But not until Mordor and Barad-dûr were ready could he allow them to come out of hiding, while the eastern orcs, who had not experienced the power and terror of the Eldar or the valor of the Edain, were not subservient to Sauron, while he was obliged to for cozening of western men and elves to wear as fair a form and countenance as he could. They despised him and laughed at him. So they laughed at Sauron because he was in his disguise, basically. And yeah, as it's described here, there were some strong orc tribes far in the east, and they were ungovernable, and he couldn't bring them under their control as long as he was in this disguise, which was quite a bit of the Second Age, to be honest. And depending on when the show is playing, and I guess it doesn't take timeline too serious, it kind of makes sense that we have some wild orc tribes. It just depends on where exactly, because this is explicitly stated further in the east and not anywhere close. So that is kind of interesting in my opinion. There's also this dude here. Oh, that is pretty big one. And yeah, he looks somewhat similar, like with some, let's call it, scars and I won't call it a mutation, but yes, something going on with his face, basically. and the teeth and so on. So it's very similar, in my opinion, to Peter Jackson stuff, and you definitely see all the details in this prosthetic. Like, it's really impressive. And also the helmet, like somebody pointed out already that in the earlier screenshots that were published, we also saw no, it was in the trailer, I think. In the trailer we already saw like a glimpse of the orcs already. Let me just go to the T. That's not a trailer, so we have to use the correct terminology here so nothing gets confused. Let me just see, how do we do this? Something like this. So here you see these helmets here in this background. This person here in the middle, as said, is potentially Finrod, though yeah, I don't know. It might be like a first age scene. And here we see some of the orcs, and yeah, we see some similarities here and there. So maybe they looted the helmets from the others and so on. But yeah, I have to admit, the orc stuff looks pretty impressive. Like, it's pretty cool. It does not look like these CGI orcs from The Hobbit, which a lot of people didn't like. It's pretty impressive what they did here, in my opinion. Like, it looked pretty decent, I have to admit. And I think people also, for the most part, were somewhat positive about seeing the orcs here. There was like, I think this scene we see also a person in the background, and this might be Arondir. I'm not sure why. If I find the screenshot really quick. But there were some hints in other shots that might indicate this, like in the trailer, for example. Let me just go back to the trailer. Everything I need to is in the trailer, kind of. Yeah, we have this chained person here, which potentially is Arondir, even though I thought maybe it's not him. Looks a bit different, hard to say. And he jumps at people. This might be orcs there, as we already speculated in the earlier streams. And yeah, here this person might be the same person as we see jumping here, confronting one of the orcs. Maybe that captured him or so. I mean, he's captured by those. That Finrod looks so weak. Yeah, I agree. It's not. I imagine Finrod differently as well, but what can I say? That guy's obviously Arondir, somehow talking to an orc who has a chief rank. Yeah, probably I would assume he's maybe a prisoner or so, and he talks to him, or the orc chief talks to him, to put it mildly, and yeah, something like this I could imagine. We will find out when the show airs, I guess, but it's interesting detail and connection one can make here. There's also another scene with some orcs inside a building or a tunnel, a cave, a mine, or whatever. Really hard to say. There's also some interesting detail, like here he has like a bone helmet or so. We have some torches here in the background, which is interesting. And there are also some symbols on the armor, which I can't make too much sense out right now. Like if we zoom into this here, we see some eyes, which is interesting. Like we already know that Sauron is always in connection with some eyes, but it's pretty hard to say what is going here exactly. Like, I don't know. But this here clearly looks like an eye, so I'm not sure if anybody has a good theory on that just yet, but maybe it's also just a random armor from somebody. Maybe we saw this motive somewhere else already and he just stole the armor or so, or looted it or whatever. I got to go. I'm exhausted and have to get started on some dinner and some work. Okay, thank you for staying. See you later, Canadian Fantasy Corner. Shout out to him. He also has like a little YouTube channel and recently surpassed, I think, 500 subscribers. Pretty impressive. So all the best to you, my friend. Maybe check him out. Yeah, but I assume, like, as said, in theory, they don't have access to the Silmarillion stuff in the show, so it's maybe just a, what do you call it, a flashback, and as a result, it probably won't be too prominent in the show, if that makes sense. But who knows? Who knows? We have to, find out later. There's another shot which might be potentially related to this shot here. Let me just... We also see here orcs with some torches. Let me just see if I can resize it properly again. There's the arrow. Yeah, the helmet here of this orc is different from the other one, but I don't know. Maybe these shots are kind of related. We see some stone building stuff, though here now the background is kind of dark and black. Here we see some more details. Maybe it is when they cross this door. Yeah, like you see this door in the background. Let me just see if I can get the arrows up. Like, let me just see. So this thing here might be the door in the background. Like this here. When they go through the door, so because it's also pretty dark behind the door, would make sense. I also maybe should activate the source for this here, even though probably did not update it. Well, updated it as well. Strange. You know what I mean? So this door there in the background could be, or this exit, entrance, whatever you want to call it, is maybe the same as what they're approaching. So this is basically the earlier scene or so. I'm not sure. But the question is, where's the other orc? Is he missing, or maybe he's standing behind this guy? Because, yeah, quite possible that this guy is behind the person we see here. So I don't know. No, Zushan is here. Welcome. Yeah, I guess everyone imagines characters differently. It's pretty hard to tell. I have to say, I also imagined Finrod quite differently, as said, but I don't mind. As somebody said, yeah, I also will look into the series and then draw my conclusions when I've seen like a few episodes. I will, of course, will watch the whole thing and cover it in some shape or form. I really hope I like it, and I really hope that even if I don't like it, that they at least manage to get new fans into the Tolkien universe. Like, it would be awesome if people would get interested reading the books. Like, I also got interested reading the books after seeing the Peter Jackson films, and they were also criticized by a lot of hardcore book fans back in the day. So it's not like it can work that you bring in new people into the fandom, which would be pretty awesome, in my opinion. Though I can understand if people are just triggered by it, because I also have often a very, very bad feeling. For example, when it comes to these orcs and you read the articles to this, like, there are some, I don't know, there are orc females and so on. It seems like they may be going for a more tribal approach, where they're not under the influence of Sauron. So maybe we see little orc villages or so, where the orc tribes are living and so on. Maybe they try to make us... To develop the orcs a little bit more. Maybe they are even like a character perspective in the show, that we start liking the orcs because there are some cool orc characters in the show and so on. I think, yeah, you can of course make an argument for that, but then you also have to cut to Lord of the Rings, where they are just killed quite a lot, and makes it a bit difficult to yeah, I don't know, to emphasize or to sympathize, what is the correct word for this in English. You know what I mean? To feel bad for what happens to the orcs or so, because the orcs, of course, it's a very complicated topic. Tolkien was never really happy with his orcs, and he wrote a lot of versions because of that. Let me just see. And there's interestingly also a thing like a very interesting detail when it comes to this. Let me just see if I can find it really quick. It's in Morgoth's ring, and it's basically about can you just kill the orcs also? How should orcs be treated? And if we find this in Myths Transformed in Morgoth's ring, it's Myths Transformed 10, and there's like a section called Orcs. And in that we find like a very interesting little text. Basically, it reads like, they, the orcs, must be fought with the uttermost severity. They must not be dealt with in their own terms of cruelty and treachery. Captives must not be tormented, not even to discover information for the defense of the homes of elves and men. If any orcs surrendered and asked for mercy, they must be granted it, even at a cost. This was the teaching of the wise, though in the horror of the war it was not always healed. It is true, of course, that Morgoth held the orcs in dire thraldom, for in their corruption they had lost almost all possibility of resisting the domination of his will. So great indeed did his pressure upon them become ere Angband fell, that if he turned his thought towards them, they were conscious of his eye wherever they might be. And when Morgoth was at last removed from Arda, the orcs that survived in the west were scattered, leaderless and almost witless, and were for a long time without control or purpose. So Tolkien describes here some interesting ideas that demonstrates how much under control Morgoth had, or how much control Morgoth had over the orcs. But he also said, like, even though the orcs in this whole passage, even though the orcs were very evil inside, they still had to be treated well, like other two. It was not you could just torment them for fun or kill them for fun. If they would ask for mercy, you have to grant it for them. That was at least considered wise, even though, as he also states, in war times it was not always done like this. But it's a very interesting little detail from Morgoth's ring here that you have to consider, and it's goes more into the philosophical realm of all of this. So I could imagine, now that they basically show us a lot of different orc screenshots in the show, that there is potentially some more when it comes to the orcs. I think I've also forgotten to show one orc image, that is this one here, which I also use in the thumbnail. Of course, there's now the arrow, which I maybe just remove really quick. Yeah, it's an interesting concept, because he always struggled with that orcs can't have like a redemption. Also, Nerd of the Rings is here. Nice to see you, Matt. Welcome. It's definitely, though, a little, let's call it, a problem, if that makes sense, that there was no redemption for the orcs in his universe, and Tolkien tried to find all kinds of ways, like, for example, making them more like beasts and not sentient beings and so on. It's really a difficult topic, and curious what the show does with it, but I hope they don't go too far with this, because it's probably too complicated. Let me just also see what chat. If they make the orcs sympathetic, they will be fulfilling the Fourth Age book that Tolkien didn't write because he found it depressing. Kids playing orcs in the streets of Gondor. Yeah, maybe. That is true. It adds more depth if we can actually feel sorry for the ruined form of life. For sure it does, but the question is this a topic? Like, this topic is, in my opinion, very complicated, and I feel like the show might not be able, especially if they won't go very mainstream and hit like a very broad audience. Maybe this topic is little bit too big to cover in a show like this, if I'm honest. Like, it's a complicated topic. It has a lot of nuances. If done well, yeah, it could for sure work, and it's an interesting thought, but it's also a very complicated one. Though even in Lord of the Rings, which they only have access to, we find a bit of this sentiment that there's like a dialogue between some orcs, and some of them think about like going away from Mordor and having their tribe and doing their own stuff a bit. That's it's a very interesting dialogue there in Lord of the Rings, which they could maybe relate to and basically build this idea upon, but I don't know. It's really, really hard to say. We have seasons, lots of time for development. That is true, but of course there are so many other big events that like we have to cover. We have to cover Númenor. We have to cover the creation of the rings and the downfall of Númenor, and before that the expansion of Númenor, and other movements inside the world. Which we have to cover the dwarves and what they do in Moria and so on. I feel like if you have so many big events and you can't fully focus on this particular aspect, we also have the hobbits, I forgot, and this aspect, it might be that it comes a bit short, you know, and then it feels a bit like this classical, oh no, the bad guys are actually also likable stuff, and then plot twist, Sauron comes to power and then they do terrible things or so, and we feel, oh no, what happened there? I mean, sure, it makes sense to portray them in a way that you understand the orcs a bit better, but to be honest, the orcs are pretty hard to understand in of themselves, because Tolkien wrote, like, I don't know, had really trouble with, oh boy, the bot's invading again, had really trouble with all kinds of versions here, and really tried to make something for the orcs. It would be nice if the bot could simply make just one post instead of always 4. It's just annoying. But I agree, maybe they managed to do this or not, really hard to say. Logos says, for me, one of the best scenes of The Hobbit is when Legolas with his elven girlfriend, I don't remember her name was Tauriel, looking at the old fortress of Morgoth that was Gundabad. It's actually a dwarven mountain and not a fortress, but yeah, it was always conquered back and forth by Sauron. And telling her how her mother was slain by the orcs. Maybe I can find the screenshot really quick, even though I think it's in the second or third Hobbit film. Maybe it's the second one, I'm not sure. I pretend it's the second one. Let me just see if I find the film screenshot really quick. Always doing the wrong size. Let me just see. I think it should be this place here. I assume from the second film. Not sure. Maybe it's the third one. Yeah, that's also a very important point. Orcs hate and fear the elves as much as they hate sunlight. I would like to see some stories from the orcs of the past. Yeah, it's very interesting that especially the... Oh, there's another thing. Was just scrolled up. What is going on with the bots today, man? Never had so many in succession. It's really interesting in that regard. That the orcs, I forgot what I wanted to say. These annoying bots are definitely distracting me quite a bit. Silly modern stuff. But yeah, as I said, it is definitely possible. Her name was Tauriel. Exactly. Oh yeah, I read the comment Yeah, the hate, that is what I wanted to say. The hate towards the elves is definitely a very important motive, like we find in some of the texts. I think even the text I just read to you. No, I read before in Nature of Middle Earth. There was like a mention of let me just see. Now it's really hard to find the one bring upon another. Yeah, while the Eastern Orcs who had not experienced the power and terror of the Eldar or the valor of the Edain were not subservient to Sauron. So, because they have not experienced the cruelty of the elves, they were they couldn't be brought under control by using this particular fear and anger towards the elves. That's definitely an important motive for the orcs. So without it, you might be right. There might be some difference, and as we can see in this one scene, which I of course don't have prepared anymore. Let me just see, where is it? Well, it was in the trailer, right? But yeah, we have this one orc dude, and he's, I assume, negotiating or talking to Arondir, and or this person here jumping in the background, this one here. So there seems to be some contact, and I mean, he doesn't look happy on this picture talking with Arondir or whoever that is, but I assume it's an elf, and but he also hasn't killed him yet, so there might be the orcs might be a bit more friendly here in this series. It's a really interesting thought. Yeah, of course, also good mention is Redback, of course. That is a character from Shadow of War. Also quite funny character. I think he's also in Shadow of Mordor, right? Or is he only in Shadow of War? I think he's only in Shadow of War. I'm not 100% sure though anymore. I've got to bug out. I have another place to be. Okay, thank you, Otaku-senpai. See you next time. There must be some storytelling and giving information through generations. Think about Glamdring and Orcrist. Even 6,000 plus years later, one orc still know of these weapons. Yeah, that is true. So something like this also must kind of happen. It's interesting. Though, of course, this is Hobbit territory, and Hobbit territory is always difficult territory sometimes. Because it's just such an early book that Tolkien wrote, and his Legendarium was just so incomplete at this time. It is definitely fascinating. How can I love the orcs when they have no piercings? Maybe we will see also some pierced orcs. Who knows? I think in Peter Jackson, some Peter Jackson orcs definitely had piercings or something. That is true. They probably are most evil when they are under control of a Dark Lord, but yeah. The problem is, of course, the events. You have to see it a bit from the perspective of the chronology in the Second Age. Like, sure, there might have been a time where Sauron was still, let's say, developing his evil inside him and maybe preparing for things to come, but this was really early in the Second Age when the Rings of Power are made, and we have to consider that Isildur is potentially in this show as well. If they don't jump in time back and forth all the time, it more sounds like it's the middle or the late Second Age, if that makes sense. Then Sauron is already established. Like, I have to admit, I forgot the exact date when Sauron completed Barad-dûr in the Second Age. I have something like 1200 in my mind, but I might be completely off here. Let me just see if I find it really quick. No, it's not. That's when Sauron starts. He begins building the building of Barad-dûr in Second Age 1000 already, so it's not mentioned when it is completed in the Second Age, I think. Or is it? Does somebody know? Maybe there's some note in the earlier versions of Appendix B. No, it is 1600 it's completed. He completes Barad-dûr, Celebrimbor, perceives the designs of Sauron, and he creates the One Ring. 1600. So it was in development for 600 years. It's quite a lot of time, to be honest. But yeah, it's an impressive building, I guess. So yeah, he already builds this. He has his realm. He starts the war relatively soonish after creating the One Ring, like a century later. 1693, and as a result, it doesn't, like, if they include all of these details and Eregion and so on, and Númenor and the conflicts, it feels a bit off, to be honest, if they would compress everything together. This is a big concern I have, that they do so much time compression that they can just put everything in parallel, if that makes sense, from the Second Age. Like every event, and just pretend it happened in parallel, even though it's sometimes a few thousand years apart. Yeah, that is true, actually. He binds the foundation of the One Ring to Barad-dûr, so it makes sense to be 1600. Yeah, probably that is what completes Barad-dûr, that he can bind the One Ring to its foundation. That might be the reason why it's completed there. It's actually Aron. It's not actually Arondir. This is a waiter at a restaurant who just told this orc that they are out of meat, so it's no longer on the menu. Boys. That's a good way. Oh man. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see that these orcs are in there. And as said, there are a lot of options they have. I would say going this route is definitely not completely off, if that makes sense. Like there are definitely hints in the Lord of the Rings, and as I just read, for example, Nature of Middle-earth, that hint towards orcs being like more savage and tribes and less under the control of a Dark Lord. It definitely works, especially for the events of the Second Age. But as said, I'm not sure if that's the best route to go. But we have to see in the show when it comes out if it works out like this or not. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting details. And as said, in one of the quotes, let me just see if I find it really quick. Just have to switch around. Yeah, somebody said, let me see who said this. Some of the people working on I think it was on the orc costumes, or some producer, I'm not sure. There's some female orcs that I truly loved. So there will be female orcs in the show, it seems. And that is also an interesting detail, because if you remember, let me just see if I find the screenshot really quick. In Peter Jackson's film, it is very interesting that, he made an interesting decision, and that was explaining the miraculously multiplication of orcs in Isengard or Isengard with these slime pits, I would to call. Let me just see if I find this really quick. Well, this has to do, right? You remember this scene from the Fellowship of the Ring, where we see Saruman creating these orcs out of these slime pits. And in very early versions of Tolkien's writings, there's a mention that they came out of warm, slimy pits in the earth or so. The problem is that Tolkien then went into a specific problem of his works, and that was that a Dark Lord would then be able to create sentient life. And that was a thought Tolkien didn't like in his overall order of his created world. Like in his mind, only God can create sentient life and not Morgoth. So he rejected this idea relatively fast and tried to find different solutions for this, which he never really did. And his main solution was basically the Dark Lord took existing life and transformed it into orcs, and that is how the stuff potentially worked out at the end. Let me just see. I don't have a really better screenshot than this, but here's another scene of this. And yeah, as a result, he went through different iterations. There was, like, for example, a Maiar called, what was his name? Boldog or something like this? No. What was his name? Something like this. And he was a Maiar, and he had basically offspring, and that were the orcs. Then he tried to make orcs out of beasts and so on. That was another solution he found. And the only or the best fitting one were elves. However, he was also very, very unhappy with the idea that orcs are basically tormented and corrupted versions of elves to mock the elves. He liked the idea that they maybe were created in mockery of an existing creation, but he of course also had a bit of trouble finding, like, that elves weren't ideal. The problem, the good thing about elves were that they were the firstborn. They were always around, and we know from very early wars in the Legendarium that Morgoth already had orcs as servants, and that was, for example, the so-called let's call it war for sake of the elves. It was relatively early after the elves awoke and Morgoth tried to influence them. Then the Valar basically decided, let me just see if I have a good picture, let's maybe take Manwë. The Valar then basically decided to attack Morgoth, even though Morgoth was potentially stronger than all the other Valar together. Valar are basically angels of highest rank, and forming a god pantheon. And Morgoth, formerly known as Melkor, was also once part of this god pantheon, but he got kicked out when he did evil stuff. And I guess, though, at this time he was still called Melkor, to be honest. However, yeah, then the other Valar attacked him and managed to destroy his first fortress, which was called, what was its name? Utumno, I think, yeah. The second one was Angband, the first one was Utumno, also known as Udun, which Gandalf mentions, by the way, in Lord of the Rings on the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. However, they won, and then he was basically imprisoned in the halls of Mandos. I have also somewhere a picture of that, which will be hard to find. So also shoutouts to Kimberly80 again. The other picture would be by, I think, Peter Macri. He had a little drawing of the halls of Mandos. Yeah, here it is. Peter Macri, he was imprisoned there for 3 ages, whatever that means, complicated with the timelines. And yeah, in this war, orcs are mentioned, and men were not there yet, and maybe I guess the dwarves were already there. However, that is a huge problem, because Tolkien really liked the idea of orcs having their origin in corrupted men and bred from men, basically. And as a result, he maybe started with the idea transforming his world a bit, that men were simply awoken shortly after the elves. They were still the second-born, but they came to life shortly after the elves came to life themselves or started existing themselves. But this, of course, is like a huge surgery into his Legendarium, and it potentially, he could never really, in my opinion, finish it or make it very plausible. That's also a reason why Lord of the Rings hints at this, or the Silmarillion also hints at the origin story of coming from elves, if that makes sense. And yeah, as a result, this, like, if we look at the screenshots here of these orcs, let me just see, where is it? Just too many scenes here. We see, like, they also have, like, these little pointy ears. The other screenshot was a bit better for this. So it seems they're really going for the elvish origin story here. Yeah, this one, I think, was much better. Yeah, you see the pointy ears and so on. You also see, like, a lot of detail, which is really impressive. We even see this little orc arrow on his head, and it's red. Always the theory that the red arrow is an orc arrow, but yeah, it's really fascinating what version they will go. And they basically have to go with this version because it works best, but it has, of course, some problems because elves are are immortal and very powerful beings, and corrupting them is not really working out in some ways. It's really difficult. The Uruk-hai then are a special breed, originally from Mordor in the films by Saruman, but in the books we have a mention much earlier. Potentially also connected to Minas Morgul. It's kind of interesting. Though in the first age there's also a mention of, because the Uruk-hai are usually described as being very black. And there's a mention of black orcs also in the first age, but they're not explicitly stated to be this particular specific breed. It's it's kind of interesting. A lot of details. Yeah, Uruk-hai simply means orc folk, but it's usually used for, or just a specific breed of orcs meant for this. That this term is used for. However, in the reason why the films, by the way, go with this is it's difficult to explain otherwise. Like, I feel like Peter Jackson needed a way to plausibly explain the audience where all the orcs, where the 10,000 orcs are coming from in such a short time. And so he basically had to create these pits where orcs just magically grow out of the earth, if that makes sense. Because in the books, though, Tolkien explains that also orcs multiply in the manner same as men. As a result, it takes some time to produce more orcs. And in the books also, it takes Saruman like 30 years to get his orc army done, which is, even that is quite fast. I think it's even more than 30 years. Would have to look up, or is it, maybe it's really 30 years. I'm not sure, I don't have the date in my mind currently, but there are some indications in the books that hint at this. So, yeah, something like this. And in the films now, they can use a different approach for the origin of the orcs, if they even want to go down this route, because they simply have more time for this, and they don't have this, okay, there's this Saruman dude, and he just, next month he has 10,000 orcs and attacks Rohan with it. They probably don't have this pressure. They have all the time in the world in the Second Age. He doesn't need to explain this. He could also say he just gathers the wild tribes or something like this and forms his army this way. I'm very curious how they will solve this. Yeah, there's also some mention of half goblins in context with Saruman and some other orcs. It's interesting, but really hard to tell what it means exactly. But yeah, orcs is a complicated topic, and as a result, I don't know. It's always difficult to go too deep in their origin and explore all these fantastic little details with them, because it's simply, there's just so much going on there in the background. So many different versions, ideas, and moving elements in the background. Like the awakening of men needs to be put several thousand years, depending on the timeline, like, I don't know, more than 20,000 years back into the past. though in some versions it's only like, let me just think, how much is it? 4,000 years or something like this. Yeah, might be, yeah. Round about 4,000, 4,500 years, something like this, into the past to make this work. It's kind of difficult. Maybe it's only 3,500 or so, but it's something among those lines. And in some, depending, because it's a different timeline, I don't want to dive now too deep into the timeline stuff. But yeah, in early versions, of course, just see, where's my timeline thing? Here it is. Yeah, like, we have the awakening of the elves, which is here in this time, in this very imprecise time scale, and this is during the years of the trees. We often mentioned this. Y dot T dot, or whatever you say it in English. Yeah, that's the years of the trees, and here later Sun and Moon are created. Then we have solar years, but before Sun and Moon are created, we don't have solar years, but so-called Valian years. And Valian years, Tolkien had different ideas how long a Valian year is in solar years. Some versions it's 10 years, some versions it's 9.582, and in his later versions even 144 solar years. And depending, as you can see, there's quite a bit, there's a factor 14 between 10 and 144 years. As a result, suddenly you have a lot of space to fill, and it would be strange if men existed for such a long time, though it might make more sense in a development when it comes to the development and stuff like this. But it's strange that they exist for so long and you know basically nothing about them in that way, and they never learned to write things down or basically forgot everything. It's a bit strange, and as a result, Tolkien, I guess, never really completed that. But yeah, it's such a complicated topic. Just so many details to it. But as said, doesn't matter too much, because here it seems like, when we look at the pointy ears, the show is going with the approach of the orcs are created from elves, or are corrupted elves transformed into orcs in mockery of the creation of the elves. So I guess that will be the origin story in the series as well. But this time we don't have the slime pits anymore, because they are not needed as an explanation to where the orcs are coming from this fast. If we will see, it's a mystery. That's also an interesting way to put it. Like, it's simply a mystery. I'm just continually in awe with the depths and more depths. Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff Tolkien discusses here in his works. It's really, aren't they compressing the Second Age still? Yeah, they're compressing it, of course. But the origin of the orcs is, of course, in the First Age, which they probably won't cover, or even before. No, not before the First Age, but yeah, much earlier. So not sure what they're going to do with that anyway, but I can only talk about the world of Tolkien from the perspective of the books, because that's currently all we know and the show isn't out yet. We will see how much they will compress. It's definitely a big fear of mine that they will compress this timeline here, the 3,441 years from the Second Age to the Third Age. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of that, to be honest. It's one of my big worries that they screw up the lore by quite a bit by compressing it so much. I hope I'm wrong, but sometimes there is a reason why events don't happen in parallel and so on. And it's, of course, very difficult. Like, it's it's really strange in my opinion if somebody would talk about the show and it's too compressed, and I talk about the second age from the book's perspective, then we would talk about absolutely two different things, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, from the show's perspective, the downfall of Númenor happens in parallel to the creation of the Rings of Power, but that is not the case from the book's perspective. As a result, the universes are quite different in a way. As I said in one of the other streams, let me just read again if I find it fast enough, the quote from Gandalf who answers to Saruman. Probably don't find it. I found it. White, he sneered, it serves as a beginning. White clothes may be dyed. With the white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. In which case, it is no longer white, said Gandalf. So, that's a big problem with it. If you, I said it in one of the videos as well, like if you override too much and break things too much apart and compress things too much, then it's maybe no longer Tolkien, you know what I mean? That's one of my very, very big concerns when it comes to the show, that they definitely screw this up completely, but the timeline and nothing makes sense anymore. And it's just like, it's a problem when the world that was created by Tolkien has to go into the background so much that it breaks, or it doesn't make too much sense anymore, or that it's too different from the original. Usually you would think they write a story to fit the world Tolkien has written, not that they write a story and make the world of Tolkien fit. That's, of course, in an adaptation, you always have to change some of the original stuff. Don't get me wrong there, but the question is, how well will they balance it? And that's difficult to do, and of course there are reasons why they have to, for example, compress time a bit, because human characters would be a nightmare to deal with if you just don't have time compression. Because while the elves are always there, human characters would simply die out pretty fast. My question is why we as a community are not focusing on fandom-made projects instead of this corporation bullcrap. There have been quite many fan movies made after all, fanfics and so on. Yeah, that is an interesting question that you ask. Like, there's of course some amazing stuff like Born Out of Hope or so, some fantastic fan films done. The problem is sometimes, I don't know, why not focus on those? Some of them are difficult to cover in a way, because first of all, I'm not sure how their legal status is. Like, do they have? I'm not sure if they own the rights to actually make an adaptation like this using the Tolkien stuff. As a result, things can become quite difficult to cover. Maybe this works as a little fan project that you put into the internet. Maybe it gets tolerated that it exists as long as it's not taking too much away. The problem is when YouTube people, for example, or fans start caring about those too much, then stuff could become a bit messy. Maybe for the channels, or because copyright is just a nightmare in these days, and definitely a big problem. Though as I said, I'm not 100% familiar. But you are right. Maybe we should look into some of these adaptations and see what they are doing as well. But like in a way, this one is like this complete show stuff is like it feels official, if that makes sense. We know Amazon paid a lot of money to the estate to get the rights, and there's also Middle-earth Enterprises, which I think is even sold. Oh, this plan to be sold off. It's complicated, and you know that even the official book publisher of the Tolkien books who currently publishes everything Tolkien related, which is HarperCollins, is also somehow involved in this. So they even have like a cover with they even have Lord of the Rings. They even published Lord of the Rings books with pictures from the show. So it is definitely a very big thing, and there's a lot of marketing power behind this. Clearly, we discussed earlier in the stream the release of this book here, and let me just see where I get this. It's always difficult to find. Here's the one. This book here, for example, it comes out after the series has aired. That is no coincidence. This is potentially a deal that was done, I don't know how long ago, and so on. All part of this endeavor here that they are planning with the show. As a result, our eyes, it's very difficult to take the eyes of the show and now focus on, for example, I don't know, some fan-made film, even though it might be absolutely awesome and very accurate in that way. But this is currently the direction. It will be insanely difficult to take your eyes from it. And it's very big news. And as said, a fan film on YouTube can be very popular, and many fans like them. And nobody, probably some people here have even seen some of the fan films already. But you have to, as said, think about this way, that a show like this with this amount of marketing budget and so on also always has the opportunity or the possibility to bring in new people that had never contact with Tolkien's writings at all. Tolkien's books are quite old already, and you definitely need, let's call it, fresh blood in your fandom always. And for example, I went into Tolkien, or got into Tolkien, after seeing the Peter Jackson films, and I'm pretty sure the Peter Jackson films were also heavily criticized when they came out, and they were also made to make money with them. There's definitely also a corporational side behind these films as well. They were insanely successful, but of course they were also done, in my opinion, relatively well. So it's really hard to say, but it's not like Warner Bros. Or I think Warner Bros. Was for the other one, like New Line Cinema and so on. Whoever was the publisher for, who was the main publisher for the first Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films? I think Warner Brother only went on this for the Hobbit, or maybe I'm wrong. Let me just see. Was it just was distributed production company was New Line? Just really New Line. Maybe they got the distribution rights later? No, it was distributed by New Line. I'm not sure. Maybe it was MGM. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter though. It definitely was a company who wanted to make money. Yeah, it's Cinema Wingnut Films. You mean the distributor MGM? Yeah, though it's interestingly it's not listed for the first film. I also would thought MGM. You're right, but whatever. It's not that important. But you get the point, I guess. Maybe it's changed with Two Towers. Maybe New Line Cinema is part of MGM. I'm not sure. New Line merged with Warner Bros. Pictures in 2008. Okay, that explains it a little bit. But nobody... Like, it's really difficult sometimes to learn who belongs to whom. I don't know. Yeah, New Line was a production company, but who distributed it? It's always interesting to know stuff like this. I laughed and hated the films. Yeah, I guess Monkey Tennis is right. A lot of people probably felt like it. I couldn't hate the films because I didn't know the books at this time, but like I said, back in the day, some people hated the films and said, oh, they are terrible. Christopher Tolkien, in an interview, said that he also really dislikes the films Peter Jackson made, the Lord of the Rings films. And yeah, but now I'm here and we're talking about... I make long videos about the books and do streams and try to share my passion for Tolkien's books and his world, his works and so on. It definitely had a positive effect, even though some people definitely don't like the Peter Jackson films either, and it is totally fine. And this will be the same for the same for the Amazon show, though. But yeah, it's an interesting topic though, but we will see. And of course, as like it's big news. It's everywhere. It's covered on a lot of pages and so on. And also, us fan channels cover it in a way. I have to admit, I'm never looking really out for like fan films. Like if somebody knows that there's a new fan film coming out, maybe hint at this maybe in a stream or so that we learn about it and can maybe also look into this. The movies changed things, but I felt the spirit of the books were captured. Yeah, exactly. The problem now with the series is that there is only very loose notes on what the Second Age was, and as a result, they are very free to do. So it's so hard to tell what they will do. Like they have a lot of possibilities. They can absolutely screw up. They can also maybe nail the core again. I don't know. There was like another news. There was like an interview. Maybe I can post this here in chat. It was also kind of interesting. I can't show you the interview. But, oh no, maybe I have even an article for that. Let me just see if I find it really quick. Okay, that's her name. Let me just see. Just want to know how the name is pronounced. So there was like an interview with Lise McPherson. I can maybe there was an interview by the Digital Tolkien Project. Maybe I can put it in chat. And she's, oh no, can't believe it. Now that I'm posting stuff. Hope I didn't ban myself. Yeah, there's an interview with her, and she's the dialect coach, I think is the term of her profession. And she also worked on The Hobbit, and for example, yeah, she does some details on dialects, like for example, gives a Welsh actor a Scottish accent or so, and helps him develop this, finding the right way to talk or right accent to talk for an actor and so on, especially in a show like this. And yeah, I have to say I really like the sound, the phonetics of some of the, for example, Dwarvish languages and so on in The Hobbit. Like, I like when the orcs were, for example, talking to each other. That also sounded fittingly well, even though I know it was totally made up, because Tolkien didn't write much about those languages. Like, he didn't write much about Khuzd-dûl, and he didn't write much about black speech and so on. So that was though still pretty decent. And now that they put some effort by having like a professional like her on the on their show, definitely shows that they put some effort into at least the language stuff. Sadly, I don't see where I posted this. It's only the old screenshots from the other reveal. Nope, can't find it. Maybe I retweeted it or something. I forgot where I read it. Like, I think there was also an article about that somewhere. There's just so many news coming out in the last... Oh, yeah. I found the article. I tweeted it. So if people are interested, here's like an article mentioning or a bit about the language coach. Kind of interesting. What if it's literally 10 out of 10 better than the books type of deal? Well, then we are just happy that they made something so great, but I would assume it won't get that good. I think it will be a little bit controversial, and if it's not a complete catastrophe, I would already be somewhat happy with it. Yeah, nothing is better than the books. Will be pretty difficult. Like, there are very few adaptations I can think of that come close to the original book or are maybe even better than the book. Actually, I'm not sure if I know any adaptation that's better than the book. There might be one for sure. One good adaptation an adaptation that is very noteworthy. I'm not sure though, in my opinion, it's not better as a book. For example, Blade Runner, which is based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is the original book, which I think is still better than the film, but the film also is very different from the book, like extremely different from the book. Still, it definitely changed how we perceived science fiction, or how we imagine how science fiction looks. It's very, very influential film, but yeah. I won't be giving any of my pennies to Amazon. I wouldn't put my Mr. Fluffy Bags. I wouldn't put my money on it. Yeah, I would also. I mean, sure, it could happen. But my optimism, I would start it a bit lower. Like, if it's not a complete catastrophe, like for me, the most important part is definitely, as some people here mentioned already, that they nail the tone of Tolkien, and that the dialogues are good, and that the time compression does not destroy too much of what Tolkien wrote. Like, these are my biggest concerns. Dialogues, the time compression, and that the core of that it doesn't feel Tolkien. I hope they manage to do this. But yeah, we will find out relatively soon. Oh yeah, The Broken Sword is making a fan film. That's a good point. And yeah, when this comes out, we might look into that. That might be really interesting to see. I stand by Elijah Wood and Viggo Mortensen being terrible casting. Yeah, some people don't like them. Like, for me, I can't imagine Aragorn differently than Viggo Mortensen, even though I know Aragorn has, according to Nature of Middle-earth, not a beard, and it's also maybe hinted in other details of the Lord of the Rings, but yeah, whatever. I feel like for me it worked pretty well. Yeah, let me just drink something. Jurassic Park, the book is dull as dishwater. Just I have to admit, I didn't read Jurassic Park, so I have no excitement for it anymore. I was really hopeful before we actually got to see some of it. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I'm just very curious how the show will be. Though I want to try to be optimistic because, I don't know, negativity Like, I'm very skeptical, to be honest, but I also try to be somewhat optimistic and try to, I don't know, hold to everything that remotely looks somewhat positive to me. Like, for example, they already released some screenshot with the language stuff. For example, I don't know, we have a very, very long video. Well, it's not very long, but it went into quite some detail about the posters, for example, and some of the texts written on them. Let me just see if I find the posters. Of course, it's always difficult here with this. Where is it? Here it is. Like, we went into a very lengthy video discussing this poster here. And looking at the Tengwar script written on this, just see if I can get this a bit bigger. Like this here, we looked into these Tengwar script here for quite some time and tried to translate it and so on. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on with this here. Problem is, I don't know how to rotate this picture. I think I can rotate it though. Question is, how did this work? Okay, that should work, kind of. Yeah, we looked into this. This is also, now it's facing up the right way. The Elder Scroll, exactly. Yeah, Elijah Wood was far too young. He was 18 or got 18 during the when they filmed. So he was really young. Frodo in the books is 50 when he leaves the Shire. So, and it's his 33. What do you say? 33rd birthday? I don't know. And Bilbo's 111. So both had basically 33 and 111. Whatever call this in German, it's Schnapszahl. But what is it in English? Rep digit? I don't know. Yeah, for sure. Some people might not like him. That's totally fine. The Elder Scrolls. Yeah, also quite funny. But yeah, I have to admit, like, for example, let me see, where is the letter? Like, what was going on with this particular, like, these diacritics, these symbols above the letters are called Tehtar. And this Tehtar here is basically indicating, I think it's an R at the end of a word. And it's very rare, and it's only mentioned in the Parma Eldalamberon. I think, I forgot the issue, 17, 21, something like this. Look at the stream that I mentioned it, and it's relatively rare. I didn't even know it existed, and yeah, Kierdan, one of my mods, and had to do quite some research to find this out. He's a bit into Tengwar writing stuff, far more than I am. And yeah, it's really interesting to see stuff like this because it's a bit advanced and you have to look into the mode. This is actually written in modern English though, the actual text, but just in Tengwar. But it's really interesting that they put this little detail. They could have just have the scroll without this text and it would be perfectly fine. But they decided to went the extra mile with this, and this I appreciate, I have to admit. So this is like a little detail that makes me somewhat more positive. That they at least in some, like at least somebody is there that puts in quite a bit of detail into stuff like this. So yeah. Soundtrack is also really good from the Lord of the Rings films. I agree. It's a pretty iconic, even after such a long time. You still know some of the themes to this day. That's usually pretty impressive. What does it say, though? It says a king's square view from south, and on the other side you can also read Eregion something. So yeah, it's the king's square and with a view from the south. Wow. Just got a message from a friend. It's kind of funny. Can't share it here though. But yeah, it's definitely kind of cool that people put in so much effort in these little details that they have. There was also the Kuzdul script thing on the screenshot with Disa, which was also pretty interesting to read, though it was difficult to actually translate it, but at least it made sense. And somebody put another screenshot I also really liked in this context is this one here. Let me just see if I find it real quick. Yeah, this one here. And if you look at the sleeve, there's Elbereth written on it. And if we go back to the film trailer, we talked about this in past streams, so I feel like I'm just repeating myself in every stream, but I guess there's some new people here who might not know this. Let me just fix my stuff here really quick. In this screenshot here, I don't have... No, I don't have an arrow here. But on his torso, there's also something written in Kirs that are that's the old Elven writing system that the dwarves also use, and there's basically a name for Manwë on it. Manwë was the mentioned king of the Valar, the high angels. It basically says Aran Ainyor, I think. And that's a Sindari name for elder king. Aran is, I assume, king, and Ainyor should be elder then. And it's an interesting detail that's really hard to miss. But somebody made this costume and put it in there. Though I have to admit, I'm not the hugest fan of this gold. That there's so much gold on the cost. That like a character that I like. This is Gil-galad, in case people wonder. And Gil-galad, when I read, like, there's like a little poem about him in The Lord of the Rings, and I always imagined that poem to be, in this poem to be more silver. I mean, his name also means like radiant, star radiance or something like this, and stars are also, in my mind at least, a bit more silver, if that makes sense. His sword was long, his lance was keen, his shining helm afar was seen. The countless stars of Haven's field were mirrored in his silver shield. But long ago he rode away, and where he dwelleth none can say. For into darkness fell his star in Mordor, where the shadows are. So, yeah, this that the stars are mirrored in his silver shield, like, you get a little bit of a silver impression for this character. So I find it very, very odd that he's so golden in this series. I'm not a hugest fan of that, but it's just a small detail. Though when the series comes out and it makes no sense, I will definitely criticize it. Gil-galad is the last High King of the Noldor Elves. Also have this, by the way, this is Manwë by Kimberly 80. I have like another one. Let me just see. I have one of Gil-galad, which is one of my favorite artworks of Kimberly. There it is. Gil-galad. In the films, we also see him at the beginning. Let me just see if I can find him pretty quick. Well, quick, it won't be that quick, but in time. Oh no. In the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring, we have this scene, and this man with the spear that is Gil-galad. It's also interesting that it's mentioned that he has a sword, though he also is known for a spear which is named Aeglos. Are you gonna break down every episode? Yes, I plan to do this. The question is how fast I can do this. The problem is, Tolkien was all about details. Exactly. That is true, but if they interpret something differently, if the dialogues are good, if the story makes somewhat sense, if the time compression doesn't destroy everything and it feels like I'm diving into Middle-earth and it feels Tolkienish, then I'm happy already, even though Gil-galad should not look too gold in my opinion. But oh boy, what is going on with the bots today, man? That is really annoying. YouTube, fix that. Also, sorry for butchering this poem there when I read it, but something like this. But yeah, I plan to basically go through every episode. I'm not sure in which form, because scripting a video, recording it, editing it, it takes a long time. In a format like this, for example, I can react to it much faster. Like, I can just sit here, give you my thoughts. It's probably there will be some mistakes, because I also need to look up stuff, or maybe I forgot something. Does anyone click on those bots actually? You summoned the bot, I think. Please don't click on the bot though, it's potentially giving a hard time. That is true, the shield could be silver still. You are completely right, it's just, like I said, the overall impression is like more silver to me than gold, and the name, like I said, Gil-galad, also translates to, as said, something like, I don't know, starlight, star of bright light, star of radiance, something like this is the translation of Gil-galad. Gil is star, galad radiance, or bright light. And interestingly, he also has silver hair, though that we only know from Nature of Middle-earth. There's like a description of Tolkien, how some of the characters look for whatever reason he wrote those. There was a reason for that, like depiction or whatever. A fan letter, I forgot what it was. And there, it's described that he also has silver hair. So his name is Star of Bright Light. He has silver hair, he has a silver shield which reflects the starlight and so on. Like I said, the overall impression is never golden when it comes to this. Do you agree that being generic is worse than being terrible? Not all. I guess in many cases yes, but not always. It depends on what is exactly terrible. Like, if somebody clearly shows in a terrible way that he, for example, did not understand Tolkien and what Tolkien wrote, and basically makes something very un-Tolkien, then I would still prefer a generic version of Tolkien that at least fits the core tone of Tolkien, versus something that is just terrible and the complete opposite of it and is not great, if that makes sense. Oh god, what is going on today with the bots? It's always the same message. It really gets annoying. I have to admit, I don't mind that he has dark hair, because he's from a line where dark hair is pretty prominent most of the time. Well, I guess it's not true, because let's not go into this detail, but I can see why you would think he has dark hair. Interestingly, Kimberly80 somewhat nailed her depiction, and this was drawn long before the Nature of Middle-earth book came out. Oh, there's the classic Elden Ring reference, like Redderon in America. And that is true if Fingon would be his father, but in later versions, Tolkien Christopher Tolkien said it was an editorial mistake that in the Silmarillion, Gil-galad is the son of Fingon. He should be, in the later writings of Tolkien, he's a son of Orodres, that is the son of Galadriel's brother. Oh boy, I have to think about this. Angrod. He's the grandson of Angrod, basically. But it's also not ideal at this way. But he's also potentially not the son of Fingon, the son of Fingolfin. Yeah, it's a beautiful art. I really like this. It's one of my favorite artworks of Kimberly. She's just so good at drawing faces and expressions. Though you always see like she takes like inspiration of some actors. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, okay. We don't go into this design. Tolkien's design for Gil-galad's device is blue with silver white stars. Yeah, so pretty fitting. I assume she also took this as an inspiration for this picture. Of course, there are some movies that are terrible and they are funny in a not intended way, but are very enjoyable to watch. That also exists. So there are definitely different forms of terrible. Gil-galad should be silver. Tolkien describes his armor as silver in the Unfinished Tales. Do you, by the way, not that I don't believe you, Tar Elenion, but do you have like a quote at hand, or at least know which chapter it is? I mean, if it's Gil-galad, it should be in the could be in the Second Age chapter. Just curious, maybe we can just read the quote, but let me see. Old kung fu movies are terrible at fun. Yeah, the question is, are they terrible in a way? Like, for example, I really like some of the old Jackie Chan movies, like, what's it called? The German title is, for example, Die Schlange im Schatten des Adlers. What is it called in English? Snake in Eagle's Shadow or something like this? Let me just look it up. Yeah, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow is the name, for example. The question is this a bad movie? Like, in some ways, yes, it is a bad movie, but in context of making a martial arts movie, it's not a bad movie in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, if you compare this, for example, the acting and so on, to like other great movies of this time, yeah, for sure, but therefore it has almost unparalleled martial arts stuff in it, if that makes sense. I mean, there's one particular movie that is actually, I would say that's really bad because I forgot how it was called. There's one movie where Jackie Chan switched the production company, the studio that made him his films, and that also brought him into a lot of trouble. But so he was in the middle of producing this film and then switched the studios, and they had to complete the film by filming a stunt, his stunt double. I think the pronunciation is double in English. Yeah, a stunt double, and also take scenes, take other, I don't know, what you call outtake scenes and so on. And you really notice that this film is so badly cut together and so weird in many ways. I think it's also not that funny though, but it's not a great Jackie Chan movie, but it's a really strange one, just a curiosity, if that makes sense. Do you say curiosity? I'm not sure, but it is just a really strange film. I forgot what the name was though. Could you do the War on the North gameplay walkthrough 2-player game with Nerd of the Rings or Clueless Fangirl? That would be actually funny to maybe do something like this, but it would probably take quite a bit of time to do this. I always wanted to do Drunk Master. This is complicated with Drunk Master. It could be Drunk Master 1. The problem is I know the films in German, and in German the titles are different. So just to give you an example, I think the English Drunk Master 2 or 3 is the German Drunk Master 1, which is a pretty good film. Let me just... Oh, it's really complicated. So I never know how the films are called in English. I even don't know how they were called in... It's really confusing. Let me just see. Yeah, it's Drunk Master 2, it's Drunk Master 1 in German. Yeah, I think it's only 2 Drunk Master films, but the second Drunk Master in English is simply called Drunk Master in German, in the German version. I now have to find out if Drunk Master is the film. Yeah, the Drunk Master 1 is in German. Sie nannten ihn Knochenbrecher as a German translation, which translates to. They called him Bonebreaker or something like this. So it's a completely different title, and it makes it kind of difficult to do this. But no, I don't think that movie is too bad either. There's one, I don't know which one it was though. It would be really difficult to reconstruct this, to be honest, here on the fly. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, it's complicated, chat. It is Fearless Hyena 2. In case people... I think it's Fearless Hyena 2. Which in German is called Super Fighter 2. Yeah, in order to complete the film, Lowe hired stunt doubles to take Chen's place in the remainder of the film and used alternative takes and reused footage from the first film. Chen mentioned that that the end product of the film was so bad that even that he even tried to stop it from being released by going to court, but Lowe released the film regardless. It's kind of funny. It's funny when you're a bit tipsy, yeah, I can imagine that. I don't like when they fly in kung fu films. Yeah, that's always like a very specific topic. Sean from Tolkien met the showrunners and says they really love Tolkien. The Tolkien professor says they really know and get Tolkien and that they are better prepared than Peter Jackson was. Yeah, we have to see if this works in the final product. Like a lot of people often say that they love, or I believe them that they love Tolkien. The question is, can they make a film that portrays this, that translates this in a way that, for example, we as a small audience here are also happy with the result in the end. That is kind of difficult, I guess. Though of course, yeah, it makes me somewhat optimistic that several people who I respect in the Tolkien cosm said that they definitely know the books very well and potentially have a clue what they are doing, so that is good. The question, though, is always, like I said, the problem is with an adaptation, there's always interpretation of the person who adapts the story, and then there is the source material. And you have to balance both out. The question is, how well can they balance it out? Peter Jackson balanced that out pretty well. Maybe he was less prepared. Maybe he knew the books far less, but the what he managed to do, at least in my opinion, is he balanced it out pretty well. What was his changes at least made somewhat sense, and it was not only Peter Jackson, it was also his writers, his wife, and Philippa working on this on the script quite well and put in a lot of quotes and so on. And they also had a very strong source for this. Here they are a bit on their own with very, very little dialogue snippets and so on. It's really difficult. Yeah. Mr. Fluffyback says, I really love Tolkien, but I wouldn't do a very good job making a Tolkien show. Exactly. It's probably same with me. And yeah, the flying kung fu stuff, just to get back to that. Yeah, it's strange though. It's, I guess, kind of its own genre, I guess, in these martial arts films, which I don't mind, to be honest, but I also prefer the very old school films when it comes to that, to be honest. Yeah, that is true. They might have like certain ideas. Maybe they also, it was already mentioned in some interviews. Oh, awesome that TPhLore found it in Note 24. I will check it out in a moment. Thank you for your for searching those. Right, it's probably would have not find it. as fast. It's about the silver armor, right? It is recorded that Ereinion, that is the title, I guess, of Gil-galad, was given the name Gil-galad, Star of Radiance, because his helm and mail and his shield overlaid with silver and set with a device of white stars, shone from afar like a star in sunlight or moonlight, and could be seen by elvish eyes at a great distance if he stood upon a height. So yeah, here we have the quote from the Unfinished Tales as mentioned, and this quote here in particular even mentions that not only his shield was silver, but also his helm and his mail. Thank you for looking this up. Really helpful. Yeah, he also posted in chat, or she. So yeah, it's pretty confirming this. No, it's the birth name, right? It's Theon of Kings. The birth name of Gil-galad is Ereinion, I think it should be pronounced. Yeah, Ereinion. Really say this his birth name quite rarely. Sometimes it's combined. Wow. Too many bot accounts on YouTube, I guess. Yeah, a pretty nice find there. I remember that also his helm. I remember that when you mentioned it, that there is more to it than I just read from the poem, but I forgot where it was mentioned. But now, yeah, that's a pretty good quote. Maybe I should also mark this in some way for future video stuff. Yeah, some say maybe he wants to. I'm not sure if he really wants to make a show exactly like Game of Thrones or just want to have a fantasy show on the popularity scale as the Game of Thrones show. I'm not sure what Jeff Bezos wants to do and how much he is involved in this, or if he just pays the bills. It's really hard to tell. I don't know. I guess for sure, from a company standpoint, it makes sense that he goes for the next big thing when it comes to fantasy, which probably is Lord of the Rings. But it's not like Bezos writes the script or makes the show. He just pays the bills, basically. The question is how much influence do certain people at Amazon have on the show? I guess, of course, the showrunners can't do whatever they want. They have to basically negotiate this over the producers with Amazon, but that's always the case. Like, if we think about the Peter Jackson films, Peter Jackson really had to fight hard to be allowed to make a prologue, and he managed to negotiate like 2 minutes. In the end, he made 7, and that was pretty needed at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings. In my opinion, it was a really needed addition to the films to have this prologue there. But originally the people who gave them the money said, no, don't make a prologue. Nobody want to watch that. But it's so fundamentally important to the Fellowship of the Ring and the complete trilogy, in my opinion, that there needs to be this prologue. And that's always the fight. And again, here's the question, even if the creators are fans and know what they are doing, can they also fight for some necessary additions or to the films, like as said, that are comparable to fighting for these prologues? I would absolutely love to be wrong, but I'm not optimistic, sadly. Well, I guess, as said in many streams before, I'm relatively neutral, though of course try to be at least a bit optimistic and see what there will be. Like, for me, as a content creator perspective, I always say this like this: it's always a win-win situation. A lot of people will watch it, and it potentially gets new people into the fandom, also maybe to my channel in a way. If it's good, I can praise it. If it's bad, I can rant on it. So for me, basically, it's a win-win. I guess it gets complicated if it's like an edge case, where half the people absolutely hate it and half the people like it. And then you have two sides constantly fighting with each other. That might get really, let's call it, annoying. But I don't know. So far, I also criticized the show quite a bit, like when there was a leak that, for example, Galadriel potentially goes to Númenor. Maybe I should also do some production here at times in the background and not get completely lazy here. To Númenor. I really said no, that is completely against the books and makes very little sense. In my opinion, it's just a stupid addition. And if they can't sell this very plausibly in the series that this happens, then I still will criticize it. I have no idea if they build a new studio. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know who they replaced or not. I don't know what was going exactly on with Tom Shippey in the background and so on. I have no idea what the exact reasons are. There's a lot of rumor in the internet, but we probably don't know. We'll never know. Really hard to say. Didn't Sam quote the line? Yeah, you are absolutely right. I also read it a moment ago, and that is exactly what Sam quoted in The Lord of the Rings. Like, the next sentence is, the others turned in amazement, for the voice was Sam's. But he couldn't remember more of the lines, and yeah. That is Sam saying the poem. And still try to force a recap at the start of the Two Towers, the fighting the prologue for, yeah. It's just, sometimes the corporate people, they also have no clue, but they have a lot of power, and it's always about balancing these powers out, I guess. Yeah, that's also like a little news that the Miranda Otto, I think is her name, if I remember correctly, the actress that played Éowyn in The Lord of the Rings, she will be one of the narrator voices. Let me see if I have a screenshot of her. Of course, we all remember her anyway, so it's just probably not that big of a deal. was stupid by my side to do it like this. Production stuff, as always. That should be 2 towers, right? Should be. So she will be a narrating voice, and the people, in case people don't know, there will be an anime about the war of the Rohirrim with the same name, and it's about at the time of Helm Hammerhand or Helm Hammerhand, and yeah, we know the statue of him from the films. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure which film this appears. Must be in the second one as well, right? Let me just see if I have the screenshot, the screen of the statue. There he is. At this time, it plays at his time when he's the king of Rohan, and yeah, Miranda Otto will be one of the narrators, which is kind of interesting, I have to admit. So far, stuff sounds pretty great for this one. Curious how this will turn out, though. Yeah, it's a really great story to tell. I am also really interested in what's going on. So, wait, what about Return to Moria? That is also one of the news. I covered it already on my Twitch channel, to be honest, but I think I didn't cover it here. So let me mute the sound because I don't want to get into any trouble here on my main channel. On my Twitch channel, I don't care too much about stuff like this. On the main channel, I care. So let me just mute the sound. I can link the trailer here anyway. It will be linked in the description of the video, or it's already linked as well. Let me just post it here. So there is a trailer called the Return to Moria. Where's production? Here. Let me do it like this. And yeah. Will be another game. There's also the Gollum game, which is different from this one. And then there's this little game here, where we have seen very little footage. It's called Return to Moria, and I'm not sure if it comes for consoles. I think it's so far only on PC, and it's coming only for the Epic Game Store. I'm not sure though. It might be also for console. I forgot. And it's basically, yeah, you play dwarves getting to Moria in the Fourth Age. You explore it. It seems co-op, so you can do this with friends. You can mine and jump around, it seems, and you can build stuff. So it's basically, yeah, one of these craft and build games in Moria. I already talked briefly about this on my Twitch stream when we watched like a bunch of trailers around the, let's call it, E3 week. So I didn't talk about this here on on this thing here though. So yeah, it says spring 2023, returntomoria.com. Yeah, here it says Epic Middle-earth Enterprises. Not sure what the developers did other than this, but yeah, kind of interesting to see. So potentially very interesting game. We'll play it on my Twitch channel when it comes out. Maybe we do like a little review or so when it comes out for the main channel. Maybe I do like Let's Play or so on the game channel. I don't know. Depends on when it's out. Gollum game will be difficult to cover though because it comes out one day before the show releases. So for me as a content creator, that's a nightmarishly bad date, to be honest. Yeah, on the other stream, I also talked about like we see different people crafting, and this looked like at least distantly like a female here. Maybe I'm wrong though, but could be a female, and it seems like she does not have a beard. So we have this discussion again, but I don't care too much about the beard. Can live with it. Though I forgot the English word for it again. What is the English word for it? Sideburns or whatever it's called. Yeah, maybe he has something. She has something like this. I don't know. It's not too important, but just we had the dwarven beard discussion so many times. Yeah, I don't know, but there seems to also be orcs in this game. It seems pretty similar to what we saw earlier. You see the weapons also somewhat similar to, like, if we compare this weapon to the orcs that we saw earlier, you definitely see a similarity. So there is some. It seems like there's in some way there is the idea that orc weapons look like this. Probably, I think in Peter Jackson's films it also looked a bit like this, but yeah. So there's a bit of combat. You can drink beer and have beards as well. It seems. I assume it's maybe very customizable how the characters look, so I wouldn't take my stuff here too serious. And yeah, it plays as set in the 4th Age, so after the Lord of the Rings. Quite interesting. Shadow of War has the best canon fodder. Wow. Historical beards. So this was also one of the news that I missed recently, though I already, as said, there's a longer talk about the trailer on the Stream Archive channel where my Twitch streams are uploaded. Usually pretty unedited, just as said, in archive. I wonder what the most lore-accurate game is. Phew. Difficult to say. There are some text adventures. They could be, in theory, quite accurate. But I guess most games play some... Most games have some liberties, if that makes sense. Co-op Lord of the Rings craft and build game. Oh dear, this will steal a lot of my time. Yeah, that could easily happen. I agree on this. Lord of the Rings Online. Yeah, that is maybe a good answer. Lord of the Rings Online might be a very accurate game. They definitely put in a lot of work to be accurate here and there. It's pretty cool. Could you do a video on Grima Wormtongue, how he was before the war, how were his parents, or who were his parents, how did he end up in Rohan, and did he have feelings for Éowyn? Oh boy, I have to delete again here. Not sure what's going on with these stupid bots. Frodo and Sam make a cameo. Very difficult to say. In this 4th Age game, definitely not, because they I assume, sailed already to the. I guess Sam could, because he sails to Middle Earth to Aman in the 4th Age. But Frodo, I think he leaves Middle Earth already still in the 3rd Age, at the very end of it, if I'm not completely mistaken. In the series, maybe as narrating characters would be cool, but I don't think so. I think the Amazon series will definitely try to be different from what Peter Jackson did, even though be respectful with all of this. I hope they will be respectful, at least. So in this case, it would make very little sense, but I wouldn't mind, to be honest. Oh, it's also on Peoples of Middle-earth. Just scrolled up to, related to the other thing. Yeah, you're right. It is actually also in Peoples of Middle-earth. From the Shibboleth of Fëanor. Yeah, you're right. Thanks for the hint there. There it is mentioned, okay. I just remembered I read it somewhere. I forgot where it was written exactly. So yeah, I don't think Frodo will... I mean, it's possible in... Like, originally, it would be pretty cool if you have, like, still the Shire from the Third Age and, I don't know, Bilbo tells a story, but... it only would make sense, in my opinion, if you would reuse the actors for, I don't know. So Bilbo would be difficult for set reasons, I guess. But of course, Frodo and Sam... I guess Frodo could tell Sam the story or something like this, but I don't know. Not sure how people think about this, if this would be a good addition or not. Yeah, and then further there will also be like this stealth Gollum game. Very curious how that one will turn out when it when it releases on the 1st of September. But sadly, as said, the timing is really, in my opinion, an unfortunate one because it's just so incredibly close to it's so incredibly close to the release of the show, and maybe I get like a review copy, maybe I get it early, so I could have time to maybe play through the Gollum game, have a video ready on 1st September, but I have to admit it will be pretty rough. If I don't get an early copy of that, I might have to maybe just do a live stream or so and maybe play it here on the channel or so for a day, for an hour or two, and maybe tell you my impressions. But it will be, as said, it will be really hard to cover. Let me see, maybe I can show you the Gollum game trailer. This also will come for all the platforms. It's interestingly developed by Dedelic Games, which is like a German studio known for classic point-and-click adventures. Some are really good, but they never really did 3D stealth action games. So very surprised that this is the case. But yeah, we already did like some video, like 2 videos on this already. Some argue maybe that Gollum looks a bit off or so. It's an interesting idea to make a stealth game with Gollum, because Gollum is a very interesting character, in my opinion. He does some mean stuff here and there. What would have happened if, in the story, if Bilbo killed Gollum in Gollum's cave? It's a good question. I guess, like, in a weird way, I would say Bilbo would have just taken his place in some way, shape, or form, I guess. Later in his life, because Gandalf describes it quite fittingly that a reason why the One Ring did not influence Bilbo this strongly, and why he was even later able to give it away somewhat freely, was because he started his ownership of the One Ring with pity and mercy and not with murdering somebody, which was different for Gollum. He definitely looks a little cartoonish and almost cute. Yeah, that is true. He definitely go a bit for this look, which I'm completely fine with, to be honest. Very curious how how this will turn out. It's really, really hard to foretell, but it's very surprising that this game even exists, and it's definitely an interesting idea that they try this. I hope they succeed with it, and we will look into it when it comes out. As said, it will be difficult to cover though in the week, like a day before the show runs. It's just, I don't have, like, I guess I will be quite busy. So as said, I definitely consider covering the show. So maybe what we also could do, which might be interesting for some people, though it might be not ideal. I'm not sure if people would be interested in this, but when the show comes out in September, I would have the possibility to use a feature on my Twitch channel, which is called Watch Parties. So I could watch basically the show there with you. The question is when we do this. That is a detailed question we might discuss later, but it might be very interesting. Maybe I start a poll later or before the show starts to get a more complete picture of what people think of it. So basically what this feature does is the problem is why it's not ideal. You need Amazon Prime, of course, for it, because the show will run over Amazon Prime, and Amazon bought Twitch, so Twitch is part of the Amazon stuff. Unfortunately, I could say, but in a way, it's also, I guess it could be worse. Whoever bought Twitch back in the day. However, what it polls would be good. What it basically does is I start a stream, I activate the watch party stream, and then say, let's watch episode 1, and then if you have Amazon Prime and that is connected to your Twitch account, so Twitch knows that you also have access to the series, basically. It also has to be available in your country and stuff like this. Then you basically can hear my audio, and the show that I watch, so the point in the show I'm currently watching is synchronized with what you are seeing, so we can watch it basically together. The question will be, how much can I talk over the show? That is always like difficult, because I know some people then say, hey, can you not shut up? I want to watch the series or so. But in a watch party, of course, it makes sense that we talk a bit about what we are seeing. The question is finding the right balance. We maybe have to find that out. Yeah, it works really well if you have the Twitch account and stuff activated, and I think it's a pretty cool idea. And if we have the option to do this, and in this case we have, we should definitely use it. However, you can also watch, by the way, if you are... So my plan is, you can also watch when you don't have an Amazon Prime account linked to your Twitch account, or whatever. It is also possible to watch the stream. You then don't see the image of the footage of... You don't see the episode, but you definitely can hear me and see my stuff, if that makes sense. I will blend in a time code when I press on play. I will also start a timer, so that you know where we are in the show, and you can maybe sync it with a timer as good as possible if you, I don't know, can't connect your Twitch account with your Amazon account, if something works wrong or whatever. So there will be possibilities to maybe sync it, but it will be less convenient. Oh, it gives also perfect controls for audio, for mixing audio output. Yeah, that is true. You can also mute me if you want. That is also a possibility. The question is, shall we do this when the episode airs? Which I don't know when it is. I hope it's not I guess for me it will be in the middle of the night or something. Which would be unfortunate, but I don't know. We have to see how this will work exactly. We figure something out. But it would be pretty cool to watch for people. I maybe could even record my stuff to a local file and upload it somewhere. I don't know if that is. But that is just a lot of detail stuff. We will see how this works. But yeah, I will definitely try this out and see how the resonance is, how people like it, how well it works. Because I've never done really watch party stuff on Twitch so far. But I tried it out one time just to see if it works, and it kind of does. But yeah, we will see how people would like watching stuff together like this. Definitely a thing I have planned. Then potentially we do like a live stream. Maybe I also try to have some cooperations going on so that we have other female orcs. We discussed this like a moment ago, but the short answer is yes, there are female orcs. In the films, they had to find like a different way to depict it. I don't have the pictures anymore ready. So maybe we just take an orc picture. But yeah, they also have... There must be female orcs because they breed like men do as well. Or they procreate, or whatever the correct English term for this is. Like men do, like elves do. So there must be female orcs. In early versions, they came out of slime pits, and I guess Peter Jackson needed like a way to explain where 10,000 orcs are coming from in a short time, but... In the books, Saruman has more time for this, like 30 years or something, to create it takes him to create his army, maybe even longer. So he has a lot of prep time. And then the classical breeding works better, I guess. If that makes sense. But I hope this could answer the question. If Saruman took the One Ring, could he command the orcs to turn against Sauron? I guess that could be possible. It's really hard to say, though, if he really could. I have to admit. I could imagine, yeah, maybe he would be able to do this. But it's really hard to say. Is it by definition or just representation that orcs don't have beards? Interesting, a very good question. Never really thought about it, but I'm not sure if there's an actual quote that says that orcs have no beards. However, when the orc origin would be elves, it would make sense for them that they don't have beards, because except for elves in a very late life cycle, like Círdan, and with one other exception, which is the father-in-law of like the father of Feanor's wife, Machtan is his name. He also has a beard, and he's probably not that old yet, I guess. So it's very unusual that he has a beard, but how canon that is, it's also debatable. But there's only 2 known elves having beards, so it would make sense that most orcs also don't have beards. I guess in theory they could have them, though. We put them in 2 versions. Yeah, I have to look because I can't, like on the main channel, I can't upload too much stuff at once. I of course can in theory, but it's usually not that good. Should never flood your channel with too much content. So as I said, my plan is definitely to have like one of these, when an episode comes out, to make like a live stream and tell you my thoughts, some details I noticed. Definitely focusing on comparing it to the books. What is in the books, what is different to the books. There might be a lot to discuss there. I have a feeling that this might be really the case. And then I might do like a more detailed review video in the as a follow-up to that is probably a bit more detailed, more fleshed out, maybe more correct, hopefully. Something like this, and we do a watch party. That are so far, and some collaborations in between, like maybe with some other Tolkien creators. We do like a little round table or so, discussing the current episode. I don't know. There will be a lot of content in this time, a lot of work, and I will probably do nothing else in 8 weeks. So, kind of stressful time I will feel with very little sleep. But I don't know. But yeah, so how long are we streaming? Almost 4 hours. So maybe a good time to slowly phase out of the stream. I think if I look here at my smart list, we talked about the orc screenshots for quite a bit. We talked about the new book. We talked about Return to Moria. I mentioned the interview with the dialect coach from the show. We looked at the at this, let's call it Prime Video promotional video that potentially hints at being Ents in the show. And we also saw a drawing of John Howe of Azachal and Glaurung that we covered. We looked a bit even in the old teaser and did some comparison stuff, and we talked about the Gollum stuff. Wow, that was wrong. The Gollum game. And also I mentioned that in the anime, upcoming anime film, The War of the Rohirrim, the actress that played Éowyn in the Peter Jackson films, I think Miranda Otto is her name, she will be a narrator. So I think I basically covered all the news, right? Going to have to love you and leave you. It's getting late here in the UK. Must be nearly midnight over in Germany. I didn't look. Yeah, it's in 10 minutes. It's midnight here, so it's relatively late. I'm surprised that I'm actually able to still talk, but it always kind of works. And I would love if Tolkien's creator did roundtables. Agreed, that would be pretty fun. That's what you say when there's only 2 hours to go. Yeah. Not this time, I hope. I asked my boyfriend to carry my shopping bags, and he said, I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you. Okay, that's kind of cute, I have to admit. Yes, you've covered. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff today, which is as always pretty awesome. But yeah, I will do a poll, maybe asking a bit. We could put it in one where you comment and one without comments, like a game walkthrough. I'm not sure if that would be worse, if not worse, but yeah, if it would be worth the effort. Sure, I could just record it separately. Really hard to tell. Just as a game walkthrough without comment. Because yeah, the Gollum game I'm most likely, like one of these games I will definitely play on the Twitch channel over there. Not sure how much else I will do. Probably do a review or so for the main channel. That might be fair, but I would still say for the when it comes to an actual playthrough, I do it on Twitch, I guess. But I still haven't decided yet. Currently my gaming channel definitely needs content to be filled, and it's really difficult right now because I'm working on so much other lore-related stuff to find the time to make much content for that channel. As said, next video will be hopefully out tomorrow. Depends on when I go to bed. And when I get up tomorrow, because I probably still need quite a bit of work. The video still needs quite a bit of work. Definitely, I don't know, a whole day of work, I would say. Then it should be maybe ready, at least from my perspective, in the evening, like, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something. Oh, you mean the series? Not the game. The problem is I can't upload the series as video, so that is impossible simply. Because then my channel just gets instantly claimed. Who would win a fight? 1v1, Aragorn or Legolas? Depends on what range it happens, I guess. But in theory, I don't know. Elves are pretty powerful. I think the fate, though, of Aragorn is greater than that of Legolas, so I would argue fate is on Aragorn's side. You've done well for our stream. Consistently 43 plus viewers at any time. It's been great to listen to you just chatting and reacting. Yeah, there were a lot of viewers today. I found this also. I saw at times we're almost getting close to 60 viewers or so. That's, for my channel size, really impressive. Though I have to admit, this one time when the Amazon teaser came out, I had like 300 viewers here, which is like insane for like my usual live streams. Because that is really a lot of viewers suddenly. I finally subscribed to Prime yesterday with the Tolkien series in mind. Well, yeah, it happens to the best, I guess. I guess a lot of people will subscribe when the to the series when the Amazon stuff comes out, the Rings of Power show. But yeah, I hope it's good and people will enjoy it. I see, I just misunderstood the topic in that moment. Yeah, no problem. Like, the good thing about this watch party stuff is that technically I'm only streaming, I don't know, like this, for example, this picture here, and you hear me talking, but the show is actually technically transferred over to your device through Amazon itself because you have access to it. So that is why you can see it, but I can't record the show itself and stream it. That would get me DMCA'd pretty fast, and that is nothing I want. Yeah, exactly. I'm also just basically waiting and see what the show is, how a show will be when it comes out. I hope it will be good. If not, probably I will complain a lot about it. You should have many more than 60 viewers. I feel like 60 viewers is pretty good though. Like if you have a channel with like, I don't know, let's say you have 100, 150, maybe 200,000 subscribers, you maybe get past the 100 viewers mark if you do a stream. So that's pretty good for my size, in my opinion, already, to get up to 60. Of course, if you compare this to Nerd of the Rings channel, Matt or so, he gets like 250 to 300 or so, but he also has like over 600,000 subscribers or so. It's just, yeah. I would be happy if my channel would be a tenth of his size. Really impressive. And the funny thing is, I remember a time when he had like 5,000 subscribers and I was sitting on, I don't know, 30,000 something. Now he's just surpassed me many times. It's kind of really impressive how well his channel is doing. Yeah, that is true. When every channel basically would do like a watch party. I'm not sure how many channels are doing this, because not that many channels also have a Twitch channel, and I can only basically do it on Twitch, though in theory you could also do it on YouTube. But I know Matt also has a little side Twitch channel where he usually just streams in parallel, but I can't stream in parallel because I'm affiliate. As a result, yeah, if you affiliate, your streaming stuff has to be exclusive. Then when you stream on Twitch, you can only stream to Twitch, not to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. It would be against the TOS. And my VODs also have to be, when I stream on Twitch, exclusive to Twitch for 24 hours. So I know some people don't do this, but it's only when you affiliate or partner. But your channel is my favorite, Chris. Thank you, much appreciated. Happy you enjoy this channel so much. Also, thank you for your support. Much appreciated, because you are also a member on this channel for quite some time, I think. That's pretty awesome. I would have thought that they might have started the series on Tolkien's birthday rather than the date of his death. Yeah, that's a good point, I guess. That is really a good point. Like, I'm not sure if that's a deliberate... I guess it must be a deliberate choice. But that would be strange. Do you think that's a deliberate choice, or that is an accident? But yeah, you're right. It is actually Tolkien's death date, or whatever you call it. 2nd September 1973 he died. In my opinion, that's a bad sign. Yeah, that is true. Could also be deliberate on Hobbit Day. Would be another option, I guess. That is kind of grim. It is. No, the Hobbit Day is 22nd September, right? But I don't know. It is really strange. now that I think about it, it's really a kind of a strange choice. Maybe it's just an accident. Like, I don't know. Emo, that's a bad sign. Yeah, it could be a really bad sign, to be honest. But I give them the benefit of the doubt that it's just an accident. Not sure if there's some other reason. Kind of give me Star Wars vibes. Well, the question is, the good Star Wars vibes or the bad ones? And I have to admit, my Star Wars after the sequel trilogy, the Star Wars fan inside me died a bit, so I don't know. I hope that won't be the case with the series, though. The series, the good thing about the series, I'm into the books anyway, so even if the series is bad, I still have the books, so I just don't care too much. Which is of course different for Star Wars in a way, when like the official movies are at least not, let's say, not to my liking. As a recent, in the recent Star Wars controversy, okay, well, I don't know. We will find out how much controversy there will be surrounding the series. Yeah, Hobbit Day would have been maybe a good release date for it. It's kind of strange that they really went with 2nd September. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes these release dates get moved around quite a lot, and then they land somewhere that works with the schedule of producing promotion stuff. There are a lot of departments that have to synchronize, basically. Maybe it's just a weird accident that it landed exactly on the 2nd of September. I don't know. You can just speculate. Like I said, I don't know. We will find out very soon. I can't believe that the 2nd of September is I would say relatively like soonish. Like it's a bit over 2 months, right? A month and 2 weeks or something. Or a month and 10 days, I don't know. Uh, 2 months and a week, or 2 months and 9 days, something like this. Just relatively early. And in these 2 months, I still have to complete the Who is Elrond videos. And maybe make a Galadriel one, but I'm not sure if I will make it in time, to be honest. It will be quite tough. But I'm definitely will try to get the Galadriel video done before the show comes out. You sound tired? Yeah, it's really late. It's past midnight already. It was a long day for me. Get off and get some well-earned sleep. Yeah, I will do this in a moment. I'm definitely slowly getting a bit tired, I have to admit. I hope people understand. We only streamed for 4 hours. Well, that was a very short stream today. No, it was pretty... Darth Vader versus the Witch King. That's a good one. Really hard to say, I don't know. I guess it depends on the interaction of the Force with the unseen, but I don't... Else I would probably bet on Darth Vader, to be honest. I have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed your stream. Thank you, much appreciated. Happy you liked it here. I know a lot of people also start getting tired or needing to leave. We were repeating a bit too much here, I guess, at the end. So yeah, big shout outs to IGN for having these pictures posted online, so we could discuss those. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, I definitely will end the stream now because it's really late, and I would really appreciate if I could shut up for a moment. It's kind of difficult in a stream. Dancing Mumakils. That would be pretty cool if we had dancing Mumakils, but they dance together with the Númenorian bears. That would be pretty awesome. Let me just run the credits that I don't have re-rendered, so I hope it's the current, somewhat at least current version of it. Shoutouts to my moderators. Andres was here today. Much appreciated for her. Appreciate that she was helping out here. Had to ban a lot of bots today. But yeah, chat was pretty awesome today also, so shoutouts to chat. Was not much trolling and weird comments on. Also, of course, to my other moderators, to the people that have a channel membership and support me, or people who just press the like button, subscribe, are active in chat. All this stuff helps. Also, yeah, if you see this, press the like button, leave a comment, you know, the good stuff on YouTube that helps to get that helps our channel. Recommend me further to other Tolkien fans, would also be much appreciated. The classic stuff. Next video, as said, will be the video about the Angmar War, and the basically you could call it almost a second part of it as part of the Who is Elrond video, part 6. There will be more parts than part 6. Oh, Tirza is here. It's Labor Day weekend, last holiday summer in the United States. Maybe that's why. Lots more viewers. Yeah, very. That might also be a reason. Also welcome. But yeah, you probably missed the complete stream, and now I have my my well-deserved rest. Is there anything else coming up? So the German channel is a bit is also in dire need of content, but I've sadly nothing in production currently. So there's nothing. I want to do some gaming related stuff. Oh boy. Come on, bot. I'm just off in a minute, then you can spam other channels. These bots. These annoying bots. Really annoying today. Yeah, the gaming channel, there will be stuff. I might do a little recap on some of the stuff I liked from the, let's call it E3 week. That will be there tomorrow, I hope. If not tomorrow, then Friday. There will be the next lore video on this channel. If the trailer for the Amazon show drops, there will be another stream when the trailer comes out. I hope I won't miss it. Like yesterday, I was not at home in the evening, so I could not stream earlier and discuss the orc pictures there. Else I would have streamed yesterday, but I couldn't make it, so that's why we are here today. But yeah, that was already a very long outro. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. See you people next time. Have a fantastic rest of the day. See you. Goodbye.